I don't know what y'all believe, but I grew up in the Appalachian Mountains, and you learn from a very young age to just not ask questions. I was fresh out of high school. My grandmother was sick, and I decided to move in with her to take care of her. She had a 2-story house. Her bedroom was upstairs. My bedroom was downstairs. And I had a baby monitor in her room that I could hear if she needed something, because she was bedridden. And sometimes she would, holler for a Coke or whatever. This one particular night, and these things always only happen at nighttime in Appalachia, I hear the front door is basically in the middle of the house. Like, here's the house, her bedroom's here, my bedroom's here, the front door would have been right here in the middle. I hear, and it's a very heavy wood door, I hear that front door close. I didn't hear it open, I heard it close. And it was a very distinct sound. And I was like, what the heck? Nobody should be here. That door was locked. And then I hear footsteps, like very heavy footsteps, like a big old guy in boots or something, walking very fast. Ugh, making me tear up thinking about it because it was so scary. Walking very fast down the hallway to my grandmother's room. So he walked in here and I could hear boom, 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 like fast, and then stop right beside her bed. And I literally have chills right now talking about this. And I was downstairs, so I'm hearing this in the house. I don't hear anything on the baby monitor, and I'm like looking up at the ceiling because I'm like, what is happening? And then the footsteps stop right beside her bed, which is directly over my head. And I'm looking, and I'm terrified because I don't have any way to protect myself, and somebody's beside my grandmother, and it's at nighttime. Well, my grandmother, who I thought was asleep, said, "I've been waiting for you." Oh my God. When that happened, y'all, this basement scared me when I was a kid. I would run out of that basement, like when you turn the lights off, because it was so scary to me. It's a big basement and pitch black. And that night, that was one of the scariest things that's ever happened to me. There were other really scary things in that house that happened, but that night, and when folks are getting closer to passing on, I think that they have a sense that you don't have, like right now, most people, and the veil just gets a little thinner for them. And so I don't know who she saw or what she saw, but I heard it and she saw it, and she never spoke about it to me. And that's just one of the things that happened in Appalachia.
It's Appalachia Spooky Story Time, y'all, and this story is very different than my others, which is exactly why I chose it, and I want to know what you all think about it. This story comes from one of my followers named Katie. It is pretty terrifying. If you are scared easily and you're watching this at night, I would just save it and wait until the morning. Katie said she grew up in the Midwest, but when she was in 7th grade, her family moved to Western North Carolina. It was her dad, her mom, her sister, and her. Katie said that they moved into this very old farmhouse, and even though it was an older farmhouse, it was quite big. And she said that they had a lot of woods back on the property. There was some field areas where there was some farmland, things like that. But directly from her room, because she was on the 2nd story, she had a window and she could see out into the back of the woods. Just a few feet into the woods, there was an old shed, and she could see the shed from her bedroom window. She said the shed always kind of creeped her out a little bit because it was old, it was back in the woods, and just gave her weird feelings. But she noticed almost every evening her dad would go out into the shed. Sometimes he would only be out there for a few minutes, and then sometimes he would be in this shed for like hours and had no idea what he was doing. She said occasionally she would look out her window and would see lights on in the shed, and so she knew her dad was in there. One morning she looked out her window and there was a big padlock that had been added on to the shed. She thought this was really odd, so she asked her dad about it, and her dad basically told her and her sister that he put the padlock on there to keep people from breaking in because he had some tools that were stolen out of the shed. Then as he was going to leave, he looked back at her and her sister and was like, "Yeah, I don't ever want you all going near that shed." They're like, "Why? What's up with the shed?" And he was like, "Don't ask questions. I'm your dad. Just listen to me. I don't want you all near the shed." Here's where things get really odd though. She said one evening she saw her dad go down to the shed. That was pretty normal. She goes to bed, but in the middle of the night she wakes up because she hears her mom screaming her dad's name. She wakes up and she's like, "Mom, what is going on?" And she's like, "I can't find your dad. He never came back from the shed." Mom was like, "I'm gonna go check the shed. You girls just stay in here and I will be right back." Within just a matter of minutes, her mom comes running back through the door and calls an ambulance because she had found her husband slumped over in the shed. They're waiting on the ambulance. All three of them run out to the shed and they're with the dad while he is just like slumped over. He is alive, but he's just not acting right. The ambulance gets there and they say only one person can ride in the ambulance with the dad. So the wife went and she told the daughters just to wait at the house and to take the day off school. Guys, this is so weird. After they leave to go to the hospital, the two girls stay and they're like looking in the shed and there's nothing in there. You know how she said she always saw a light on in the shed? There was no electricity in the shed. There was no lanterns, no electricity. It said hanging on the walls, there was like bird feathers and some rabbit feet. And there was like a small work desk with a few carving knives and a notebook. She said when she opened up the notebook, she saw her father's handwriting in there, but then on other pages, the handwriting was completely different. And it was all just like mumbled jargon that she couldn't understand. And then written in the floorboards were like carvings of different symbols. Some of them looked very fresh. Some of them looked super, super old. Her and her sister were super freaked out, felt very unsettled, and just went back into the house. Her dad was eventually discharged from the hospital and was diagnosed with having a stroke. So he came home, he had to walk with a cane, but ultimately was okay. She told her mom about what she found in the shed, so the mom confronted the dad. Apparently the dad just wouldn't talk about it. He just shut down, would not talk about what was in the shed. She said she started to hear her parents fighting a lot, like late at night. The one thing that her dad was always adamant about was that he wanted to continue to go down to the shed, even with his cane, even with like his disability from having the stroke. He was like adamant in the evenings that he still wanted to go out to the shed, and that was the main source of arguments from her parents. Okay, but then it gets even more bizarre. Eventually, months and months and months later, her dad got pneumonia. He was already declining from his stroke. He ended up passing away. After her dad's passing, Katie, her mom, and her sister ended up moving to a smaller home in the city, but she always wondered about that shed, like she couldn't stop thinking about it. Katie and her sister decided to do some research on the home. Turns out this home had had multiple owners over the last 20 years. Like almost every year, the house was put up for sale and bought by someone else. She tried to contact a couple of the previous owners just to like get more information about why they sold the home, anything odd that happened, whatever. And nobody would talk to her. Everyone, as soon as she started asking, just shut down and refused to speak to her. Except for one woman who said that her husband had also suffered a stroke in the shed. She said to this day she has not returned to the property. She does not intend to, but she knows that there is something evil inside of that shed. What do you all think happened here? Let me know what you think in the comments, and if you want more spooky stories, then just follow along.
I'm gonna tell another weird story of something that happened when I lived in Appalachia. Don't give me shit about how I pronounce the fucking name. The Appalachian Mountains run through a billion states with different dialects, so shut the fuck up. I feel like it's just as justifiable to call it the Appalachian Mountains as Appalachian. It doesn't matter what you say, potato, potato. But anyways, back to the story. I lived in Jasper, Georgia. Inside of Jasper, Georgia, there's a small little town called Tate, Georgia, where they produce marble. There's like all these marble factories all around where I lived, and around the marble factories, it's like coated in this white dust. It was kind of weird. I'm gonna tell a story about Tate, Georgia today. So I had a friend who, their whole family lived on a mountain in Tate, Georgia. Like, it would be like my friend's house, their family next door, more family members next door, more family members across the street. Like, they ran the fucking block type shit. She was my best friend growing up, and she's still one of my really good friends to this day. She's awesome. But for the sake of this story, I'm gonna call her Rachel. So across the street from Rachel's family's house, there's this one house that has like all this kudzu in the backyard. And her mom always told us, don't go play in the kudzu, don't go over there. Because the person who lived at that house before unalived themselves, and it was just bad vibes over there. So one day we went over there and we were just like fucking around in the backyard. Just like walking through the kudzu and like looking through the windows of the house and stuff. And we just kind of felt this bad energy. So we ended up just going back to Rachel's mom's house. So I don't know. I always knew like that place was kind of bad vibes. But anyways, fast forward, I'm in college. This is probably like 5 or 6 years later. Basically, Rachel and I are living together while I'm going to college in this town called Kennesaw, Georgia. I went to KSU. And Rachel's mom calls us and tells us this really scary story. She said that she had a dream that she walked to one of the family members' houses down the street. And sorry, I just saw my neighbor in the back and it kind of scared me. But she said she had a dream that she walked to one of her neighbor's houses, her family member. And she said in the dream there was this dude in a tall tuxedo, like a tall dude in a tuxedo with no face following her. And she said it freaked her out so bad that she started running in the dream. And then all of a sudden, the dude with no face was in front of her. And she said he was just really close to her. And it scared her so bad that she woke up. So she called us and basically told us about this weird dream she had. And she said it was the most vivid dream ever. And it was just all sorts of weird. And so, yeah, I don't know. And she would call us pretty often, so that's not, like, unusual. We were like, damn, sorry about your dream. That sucks. I hope you don't have a bad dream tomorrow. And so then the next day, she called us again, freaking the fuck out. So basically, when she called us, she said, so her and her boyfriend were having like a cookout at their house, and her boyfriend has 2 young boy children. And while they were cooking, the 2 boys wandered off to go play, and they went back in the kudzu patch behind that weird house. And all of a sudden, they were gone for like 15 minutes or so. And then they hear these 2 boys screaming and sprinting back to Rachel's mom's house. And basically, the 2 boys say that they were playing in the kudzu and they turned around because they heard something. And they saw a tall dude in a tuxedo with like no face. And so, yeah. Rachel's mom was freaking the fuck out and was like crying on the phone with us, and it was really fucking scary. I don't know what the fuck to make of this story. It's just something that, like, I don't know, it happened, she told us about it, and then I was like, Slender Man? What the fuck? So, yeah. A lot of weird stuff happened growing up in Jasper, specifically around the area I lived in for some reason. I don't know if, like, I don't know what the fuck is in the water in this area, but yeah, a lot of weird stuff happened. That was one of the scarier stories, just because, I don't know, there's no explanation for that, and it's weird that Rachel's mom saw that person, or that thing, in her dream the night before. So, if you made it till the end of the story, shout out to you. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I will post more stories. Bye, y'all.
Tell me a scary Appalachian Mountain story. I'll go first. This one was sent to me by a follower who moved to the Blue Ridge Mountains, which is located in the Appalachian Mountains, when they were 12 years old. The house was around 60 years old, and her parents had done some renovations to it. They had turned the daylight basement into a master suite, so she got the original master bedroom upstairs. From the moment she moved in, she started seeing figures moving out of the corner of her eye, but whenever she'd look, nothing was ever there. She started having really weird dreams. Her closet door would open and close without any explanation in her bedroom, even though they had like that super thick shag carpet. So the doors were really hard to open and close, like you actually had to like use force. Like there was no chance that these doors were opening or closing due to a draft. So one day after she had been living there for around a year, she was out exploring the woods behind the house. It was a very rural area, and I already know y'all are gonna give me hell for the way that I say rural in the comments, but I'm from Appalachia. What do you expect? So she knew there were no neighbors around, but as she was exploring in the woods, she came across this old abandoned cabin. She immediately got really bad anxiety about this and left. Well, that night she had vivid dreams that she was walking alone in the woods again, and she came across that same cabin. But in her dream, there was a light on in the cabin window, so she went inside. The second she walked through the door in her dream, the door behind her disappeared, leaving her trapped inside, so she was trying to escape. As she's trying to find an exit, she comes across a room that is just on fire. And in this room, there's an old lady surrounded by decaying bodies. This old lady pointed at her and accused her of starting the fire. This lady told her if she caught her, she was going to unalive her. The rest of the dream, she was just running around trying to find a way out until she finally found a window to climb out of. The second she escaped, she woke up, but when she woke up, she couldn't move her body at all. But she could hear footsteps around her bed and someone sat next to her feet on her mattress. Not to get off topic, but I've had that happen to me so many times. Please tell me I'm not alone. There's been so many nights in my life where I've felt somebody sit down at the foot of my bed when I know good and well that nobody's there. There's been other times that I've felt something crawling up my bed. I don't know. Anyway, she just kept trying to move and she was finally able to roll over and turn the light on. But next to her bed was this dark figure. She said it looked like she was staring directly into a black hole. It swallowed all the other darkness in the room. She could see that it had red, bloodshot eyes and it was just smiling at her. Ugh, that's so creepy. She started screaming like I think any of us would, and she woke everybody up in the house. She never saw that old lady from her dreams again or that black figure, but she said the paranormal activity in the house ramped up after that and lasted for years. She'd feel hands grabbing her feet from under the furniture on a regular basis. Things would go missing and then reappear again in weird places. Door handles would jiggle at night. She said she had a few sleepovers, but all of her friends would refuse to come back over after a while because they all experienced things too. The day she moved out was the day that it finally stopped. This story's so creepy, especially telling it outside at almost dark in the Appalachian Mountains. Let me know what y'all think about this one in the comments. Yes, I do read the comments. I've had so much fun reading all y'all's stories, so please keep them coming. You can send them to me on here or at allyshaysworld@gmail.com.
This might be one of the most chilling photos of anyone ever taken on the Appalachia Trail. This is Geraldine Largay. She was a 66-year-old nurse who decided to hike the Appalachia Trail, but she actually went by the nickname Inchworm. The photo I just showed you was the last known photo of her alive while hiking the Appalachia Trail. She was a very skilled and avid hiker. She had already hiked 950 miles of the Appalachia Trail. She was in Maine at the time of her disappearance and was hiking this portion of the trail alone. Apparently she walked off the trail a little ways just to use the bathroom, but she wasn't able to find her way back and got lost. She did send a text to her husband at that time, but cell phone signal was really spotty and the text didn't go through. Over the next couple of days, she tried to send more text messages to her husband, letting him know that she was lost, but none of these text messages ever went through. After not hearing from her for a couple of days, her husband reached out to authorities to let them know that his wife was missing, and they deployed a huge search team in search of Geraldine. They searched for weeks and could never find her. Eventually, things started coming up thinking that maybe she had fallen off a cliff, that maybe an animal had gotten her. They weren't really sure what happened. And it wasn't until 2 years later that a contractor running like a forest survey for the U.S. Navy found a flattened tent out in the woods that was located only 2 miles off of the Appalachia Trail. It was discovered to be Geraldine's remains, along with her tent, all of her belongings, and she kept a personal diary that she wrote for 26 days while she survived out in the Appalachian Mountains. Her last entry was basically pleading with whoever found her body to just let her daughter and her husband know where she was found. Only a few of the diary entries have been released to the public. The rest has been remained confidential for whatever reason. This story is so sad, but there also seems to be a lot of unexplained things in this story. For one, why have the diary entries not been released? Two, like I said, Geraldine was a very avid hiker, and the fact that she got lost just a couple of miles off the trail is really odd. And then the third thing is, if she was only a couple miles off the trail, why was nobody able to find her until 2 years later? Let me know your thoughts on this story because I have been down a rabbit hole multiple times over this. So I'm very interested to know what you all think happened. If you ever find yourself hiking in Appalachia and come across a staircase like this, do not go up it. Someone left this comment right here and I started doing a little more research, and what I found is astounding. There have been so many reported sightings of these abandoned staircases in the Appalachia woods, and it's a known rule that you do not go up these stairs. The story I'm about to tell you is chilling. This man had been hiking the Appalachia Trail for a few weeks when he came across this abandoned staircase in the woods. He said it was super out of place and that the stairs actually were like very clean, even though there was like a lot of leaves and stuff that had fallen. The staircase was like immaculate. Intrigue got the best of him, so he decided he would go up and just check it out and see where it led to. But he said as soon as he got to the top, everything just got eerily quiet. He looked around for a little bit at the top of the stairs. It was nothing too interesting, so then he just turned around and went back. But when he got to the bottom of the stairs, the trail was gone. He wandered around trying to find his trail for hours. It was starting to get dark out and he was really nervous that he was going to be stuck out there all night. And that's when he saw this like faint glowing light through the trees. The closer he got towards it, he noticed that it was a fire and it was a couple of other hikers that were camping out for the night. He was super relieved at first, but then something was off. He said their clothes were super out of date. They were wearing these boots that were like caked with mud. And he said that their backpacks, like instead of the normal hiking gear, like nylon backpacks, they were like these canvas totes. He said he walked up to the group and introduced himself, but they didn't say anything. They just smiled at him. He was really freaked out at this point and he was like, I'm lost. Can you all point me back to the trail, please? And they all just slowly pointed back in the direction of the staircase. At this point, he is freaking terrified. He turns around and like hightails it out of that campsite. Eventually, he was able to find his way back down to the trail, and this is the really freaky part. Once he gets back down the trail a little ways and finds a place where he feels safe to camp out for the night, as soon as he starts unloading his bag to put up his tent, the sun starts coming up. What he said should have only been about a 2-hour experience ended up being the entire night. This story had me spiraling, y'all. Have any of you all ever had an experience like this or heard of these staircases before? Drop it in the comments and let me know.
Let's read a creepy Appalachia story. This happened maybe 2 to 3 years ago. I live in southern West Virginia and have for my entire life. The woods and mountains surrounded every direction you look, and nighttime is a darkness that you can never dream of unless experienced. I was with a friend, I'll call him Mark. Mark was at my house one evening, doing the usual things, watching UFC, playing Xbox, etc. It was extremely late when we finally got bored and decided to go for a walk on a nearby trail to smoke up. This was not a particularly long trail, but it is very dense in the woods that surround it. And it is very easy to get freaked out when thinking of your surroundings. We finally get to about halfway into the trail, about 30 minutes in, where we stop and stand on the trail to chill and talk. The forest is very alive tonight. There are always noises in the woods, but the amount of animal activity for the time. At this point, it was probably past 1 a.m. This was strange and kind of eerie, but not alerting, as any sort of predatory animal in the area may cause a disturbance. We finish smoking and continue our walk when almost immediately the forest falls dead quiet. And as soon as the forest goes quiet, there is a voice. It almost sounds like a mocking humanoid voice, shaky and uncertain. Almost like an old children's toy, like the ones with the crackly speakers and robotic voice, if you know what I mean. This immediately sets us off. We bolt directly down the opposite length of the trail, but the sound does not gain distance. It doesn't get closer per se, but no matter how far we ran down the trail, this eerie voice remains the same volume, going over and over with no quieting or stopping. At this point, I'm convinced that we are in genuine danger, something I have felt very few times. Finally, after sprinting for who knows how long, we exit the trail, gasping for breath and almost at the verge of tears of how frightening this was. We begin to exit the trail, and about 5 minutes from the exit, there is a bone-shaking, heart-stopping, murderous scream from directly behind us. I know what a mountain lion sounds like. This was not an animal. This was not someone playing or watching a movie. This scream sent birds flying from nests and made my heart drop into my stomach. It was the most genuinely depraved and violent scream that I have ever heard. This is a true story that I have only told maybe 3 people, all of whom seem to brush it off as false. I've never been a person to push for the existence of the paranormal or spiritual, but I genuinely believe I encountered something inhuman in those woods. Skiggly Wiggly or Wendigo? What do y'all think that was? I need my Appalachia people in the comments.
I grew up in the Appalachian Mountains, and I haven't really thought a lot about it since I moved away. Well, I've been posting videos this week and thinking a lot about my grandmother's house, so I started looking back through my videos and pictures, and well, it has been a trip. This is a picture from 2014 from my Nana's basement. It was right when I moved in with her. I was cleaning the basement up because it hadn't really been lived in a while, and I wanted to make it livable. As you can see from the picture, it's nighttime outside. The picture looks fine at first, and then when I started panning over to the fireplace, my stomach dropped, because what is this? Does that look like a baby to y'all? Like, I swear this photo is not altered at all. You can go look at my camera roll from 2014. I have not changed a thing. And this, I have chills. This is not even the first thing I saw. Like, I saw whatever this shape is right here, which is appearing differently to me now than it was at first. And this was with me in the basement. Actually, I don't think my Nana was even there with me at the time. I think she was still in the nursing home. So I was in the basement of this house in the Appalachian Mountains at night.
If you live alone, or if you even just sleep alone at night, you should probably just scroll on past this video. If you choose to stay, don't say I didn't warn you. This is a story from eastern Kentucky in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains. I know I've kind of been MIA, but I'm sorry, I'm back. I love y'all. I just needed a little break. Let's get to the story because it is seriously so creepy. Bailey used to live in rural eastern Kentucky in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains in a holler. Think of it like a cul-de-sac in between a set of foothills. They lived in the middle of the neighborhood with nothing but family on both sides. No one lived across from or behind them because of the foothills. When she first moved in, her grandma told her she had a set of rules for her to follow. Bailey just chalked these rules up to hillbilly stranger danger. There was things like don't mess with the wild animals, don't go out in the woods alone. And that's where things got a little weird. They started being like, don't whistle. If you hear something weird, no you didn't. If you hear someone call your name, don't answer it and do not go towards the voice. If you see someone in the woods that you think you know, but you know they're nowhere around, no you didn't, and come on home. Dad had mowed a path through the tall grass and berry bushes that was on the left side of their double-wide trailer. They used to camp out there a lot because it was right there, like, you know, in the woods, and it was beautiful, but they could still be close enough to go check on their grandma. Now, when you're out in the woods here, things are a lot louder than you think. Got animal life, bug noises, the wind, the creek. And that night, they added a campfire to the mix because, you know, campfire has its own sounds too. Her dad decided to go back up the path about a quarter of a mile to get more adult beverages and to check on her grandma. Crazy the things you can't say on this app without getting the video banned. Before her dad left, he had specifically told her not to mess with the fire. While he was gone, things started to get quiet, like real quiet. And that's never a good sign when you're in the woods, especially alone. The wind went still, the animal and the bugs fell completely silent, and the creek sounded like it was miles away. She started getting really uncomfortable even though her dad had left her alone at the camp before like this, and that's when she started to smell and taste it. The taste was in the back of her throat from out of nowhere. It was like this awful metal tang. After a few more moments of dread, her dad finally came back. He was mad because he said that he could smell burning metal while he was coming up the trail, and he accused her of throwing his adult beverage cans into the fire. She told him that she hadn't done that and even pointed to the fire to prove it to him. She just immediately changed the subject and said that there was a storm coming in and they had to get back to the house. So they just left the tent there and they started their way back. Now, the very weird but very cool thing about lightning in woods this dense, like in the middle of the night, is when the lightning hits, it lights up everything like it was the middle of the day, up until like the front of the trees. You know, the next set of trees back, it's still pitch black. There's no street lights, so unless you have lights on your own personal property, it's just pitch black. It's pitch black, lightly raining, and other than the dim lights from the house windows, there is no light. He's eating watermelon as one does in August in the mountains when the first clap of lightning hits. Everything's bright as can be, and then after a second passes, it's pitch black again. The next clap of lightning comes, and that's when she kind of sees it. On the porch, past the yard, over the stream, past the road, just past the first line of trees, she could see the silhouette of it. Then it goes dark again, and this is also when she starts tasting that awful burning metal taste again in the back of her throat. At this moment, she's not really sure what she just saw, so she kind of just stays still. It's a few moments before the lightning hits again, but when it does, the figure is now closer. It's standing side by side to the trees now, and then it goes pitch black dark again. She said it's been 20 years since this day, and she still has trouble fully describing what she actually saw. The thing's head wasn't proportioned right to its body. Its arms were too long and the torso didn't fit right. Once the lightning hits again and everything's lit up, she can see it standing in the middle of the road. Not wanting to wait around and see this thing get any closer, she goes inside. Her grandma's doing the dishes and she asks her why she's inside. She tells her she thinks she just saw something outside. Grandma almost immediately gets her dad on his feet, telling him to shut and lock all the windows and doors. That night, Bailey slept with her grandma. Next day, they discovered the tent's doors had been torn off. Didn't look like an animal had done it because things weren't cut or shredded, but it looked like someone took and pulled it apart. Also, about a mile or so up the road, her uncle had found about 8 chickens out in his yard that had lost their lives. None of them had heads. All of their heads were gone. For the next few weeks, all the kids had to wait for the bus with an adult. Remembers her dad had to be late to work for about 3 weeks. Any time that she tried to talk about it, he'd just change the subject. She just figured it was because she was a kid and it wasn't important or it wasn't real. It wasn't until years later that she finally understood. When she was in her early 20s, some of her cousins came to town for Halloween. As she was telling her cousin this story, her aunt got irate with her. She said, "Don't be telling them that. Do not put that evil on them." After this, she couldn't help but think back on all the times that she had tried to bring it up and she was shunned. So friends, if you ever find yourself in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains in eastern Kentucky, don't forget to follow the rules. You can send your scary stories to my email address, which as always, I look forward to seeing you in another video. Love y'all.
A little birdie told me we're telling Appalachian ghost stories on TikTok, so I thought I'd sprinkle in a tale or two. So here's the thing, you guys. I'm currently in Appalachia. I'm on the Chockless family property. That's right, that's right. And the thing about growing up in Appalachia is you know not to mess with the woods or the mountains or the ancient things that reside there because there's some kind of weird energy going on, okay? You know, you've seen it on TikTok before, the people that say, like, as soon as the sun goes down, you have to close the curtains and lock the doors. And if you're out in the woods and you hear someone calling your name, no, you didn't. Or if you hear a baby crying, no, you didn't. Those things are true, is what I'm trying to tell you. We all know it. We all know it up in this part of the world. And everyone has stories that are spooky ooky that fall into this narrative. So here's the thing. The woods here be thick, right? This is the same mountain range as Scotland. You know how they also have, their mountains have a mystical, the Highlands, they have a mystical feeling to them. There's some kind of energy. I'm telling you, we have the energy here too, but they got more castles and fairies, and we got more trees and beer stores. I don't know what to tell you. We got the short stick in this situation. And we got demons, apparently. The woods are so thick, it'll be the brightest, sunniest day, and as soon as you cross into the forest line, pitch blackness. Like I could give you, see how it's just, there's no light. It's a sunny day. The sun is out, birds are singing, flowers are blooming, and ancient demons are lurking right there waiting to snatch me. If something comes out of the woods when I'm telling my tale, please let me know in the comments. If that does happen, I'm sorry to say it'll be too late. Unfortunately, I will have been snatched by the time that you comment. But I appreciate the likes. I appreciate the likes. Thank you. So anyway, back to the story. Let's get serious. Everyone shut up. So, as children, everyone in my neighborhood, I say loosely because the houses are so spread out, we had nothing to do and nowhere to go, so we would all just hang out in the woods. And a few of our friends who live in that direction behind the camera, their families own a lot of property, like dozens of acres, and we'd play in the woods. And the problem with their property, though, is at the end of their property, it results in a cliff. No joking, a straight up cliff, a rock face cliff. Like if you fall off, you will die. That kind of cliff. So we're out in the woods one day, and we're playing hide and seek tag. That was a game of choice throughout my life. I don't know why. Very dangerous. Where were the parents? We're out in the woods, and we say, okay, Sarah's gonna be it. Everyone else hide. And we all go and hide. We start playing hide and seek. Sarah's running around. She's finding us. And one of the places we would hide was this abandoned little shack out in the woods. This little shack, and no one ever claimed it. There was an overgrown road leading up to it, but just out in the woods, there's a shack, and there was stuff in the shack. There was furniture. It looked very abandoned. It was overgrown. The plants had come inside. You know, this much dust on every surface. We would play in the shack. That was one of the hiding spots. I was hiding in the shack. Sarah found me, and we're like, oh, okay, great. Did I win? No, you didn't win, Megan. I was like, oh, okay, who's left? And they're like, oh, let me think of another fictional name. Benny. Benny, we haven't found Benny yet. And we say, oh, okay, cool. And we're on Benny's property, so we know Benny knows all the good hiding spots. So we're all looking for Benny. We're searching, and like 45 minutes go by. No Benny. And also, the sun was going down. And we said, uh-oh. We know, sun goes down, you get out the woods. So we said, okay, Benny, you won. Benny, you won. You won, Benny. Benny does not appear. Benny does not come out. So we all start searching for him, and we go, uh-oh, Benny's parents ain't gonna like this. So we're walking, and we go very far out in the property, just thinking he's on the outskirts. And when there were two of us looking for him, and all of a sudden we're yelling, Benny, Benny. We hear, help, help. That's Benny's voice. So we kind of look at each other and acknowledge that, like, oh my God, was that him? Yeah, that was him. So we start kind of like moving faster, and we're like, Benny, Benny, is that you? And we hear, over here. So we take off running faster, and we're running because it's getting dark. We're like, oh my God, what happened to Benny? Running. And all of a sudden, a kid, one of our buddies, had been catching up with us and yelled, stop, stop, the cliff. So we stopped. 10 more feet, we would have run right out of the forest line and off the cliff, because that's the direction the voice had been coming from. So we're terrified, and we say, did Benny fall off the cliff? We look down, no Benny. And we would know, because it's, you know, it's a giant cliff face, because at the bottom is they built a road. There's no Benny down there. We say, we just heard Benny. We were running towards him. No Benny. So we're freaked out. We all immediately decide, you know what? Better him than us. And we start running back to the house. We run back to Benny's house, and we're like, who's going to tell his parents? Who's going to tell his parents? As soon as we get out of the woods back onto his property, Benny is in his house. He's in his yard, or not in his house, he's at his house. He's in the yard with his mom. She's like passing out popsicles. And we say, we were looking for you. He goes, oh, I didn't even play this round. What? As soon as the round started, I had to pee, and I decided to come home. So who did we hear in the woods? Who did we hear in the woods? Whatever we heard was trying to lure us off of the cliff. And you know what's really crazy about those woods is some of the local lore, not even lore, this was a thing that happened, is I guess there was some kind of robbery. Hello? Hello? Oh my God, who is out here? Benny, that you? Anyway, the lore, I think the story goes that there's a little airport nearby, and I guess some guy had stolen a bunch of, like, I think it was like money, drug money. I don't know, he was in on something and he tried to steal the money, and I guess his getaway plane wasn't doing what planes are supposed to do, and it crashed somewhere up here in the mountains. They never found the guy, and they never found the money. A few years ago, we're driving home, and there's police cars everywhere on these back roads, and we were like, why are there all this caution tape and police officers, like, what's going on? Apparently, they had found a shed out in the woods near Benny's property, and inside the shed was a body, and the body, because they dated it, the body had been there for like a very long time, from when this plane incident occurred. So when we were playing in the shed as children, we were not alone. The body was in the shed. So that's terrifying to think about. Oh. Yeah, the energy is weird here. When all of there used to be no houses up here either. This was just farmland owned by Mr. Stinger. And we bought our property from Mr. Stinger, and then everybody else started buying property from Mr. Stinger. When all of these houses were being developed or like built, they were unearthing a lot of artifacts, Native American artifacts like arrowheads and pottery and things of that nature. So all I'm saying is the energy up here on this hill, up on these hills, you too, Benny's property, we're not alone. And that's why you ignore the voices. And if there's a baby crying, no there ain't. You hear your voice? No you didn't. You hear your name? No you did not. In our house, we truly think that the Native American spirits also like to hang out with us. And anyone in my family knows the witching hour occurs at 3 a.m. 3 a.m. to 4 a.m. You better not be in the living room or any main part of the house. You need to be in your bedroom with the door closed. My older sister has had the scariest encounters in our house. She's had the most encounters overall. But yeah, I haven't had many. We think the spirits are friendly, but they just like their time, and that's their time to have the house. So like we give it to them. And sometimes when we're up really late in the living room watching TV, I was in there once watching TV. I didn't realize what time it was. And I thought to myself, oh, it's almost the witching hour. I better go to bed soon. But I was watching my show and lost track of time. And all of a sudden I hear this huge crash in the kitchen. And I was like, what was that? And I look at my phone. It's 3 a.m. on the dot. And I said, I'm sorry, I know. And I picked up my stuff and I went to my room and called it a night. But that's nothing on Lexi's stories. Lexi's stories, ooh, she's been down in the rec room before. Her and her boyfriend Nick, they were home alone. All of a sudden, right above them in the kitchen, they heard the kitchen table chairs being dragged around on the hardwood floors. They got so scared because they thought someone had broken into the house. That's how much noise it was making. And they could hear the chairs like moving. It's like, oh my God, why is it over there? Why is it over there? They had to call the rest of the family to come home, and they were armed with baseball bats when we found them, and they were standing outside. They're like, someone's in the house. We had to search the house. No one was in the house. Someone might have been in the house. Maybe not a someone, but something was in the house. Ooh, anyway, I didn't get dragged off, so woo, that's a win.
Y'all ever called the cops on a ghost? 'Cause I have now. I don't really know what else you would call it. Okay, so I will tell you this story. I was in a wedding this past weekend, and this wedding was in Tennessee, okay? And it was along the Appalachian Trail. I used to live in North Georgia, and I know a thing or two about the Appalachian Trail. The main thing that I know about it is you don't mess with it, okay? If it talks to you, no it didn't, turn right around. If you hear a whistle, no you didn't, turn right around. I don't mess with that, and I moved away happily from the drama that is another realm that is circling on up in there. Anyway, I'm at this wedding, and we check into our Airbnb. We get there the night of the rehearsal dinner, and of course we travel with our whole zoo, so I've got 3 dogs. I've got 3 dogs with us. And we check into the Airbnb, and immediately I go into the main bedroom to put our stuff down, and I'm like, I don't like it. And I told Sebastian, I'm like, I don't want to stay in this room. Can we stay in the other room? And he's like, the kids' room? Yes. Something in this room is wrong. We stay in the other room, and then we jet on over to the rehearsal dinner. By the time we get back that night, we're exhausted. We know we have to be up. I got early in the morning with the bridesmaids. So we crash. Now, it's important to note that because we stayed in the kids' bedroom, when you walk out of that kids' bedroom, there's like 2 living rooms and then the kitchen, but you can see all the way through to the kitchen. Dogs are in crates in that second living room. So I come out of the bedroom to go to the bathroom, and I look into the kitchen, and there I see it. There is a grown man standing in my Airbnb at the counter. This guy's big, okay? Now ask yourself, what do you do in that moment? Freeze, and I'm checking all the things. Am I asleep? Am I dreaming? Let me fixate my eyes. What am I seeing right now? No, I see, clear as day, a grown man standing at the counter, and I'm like, someone broke into the Airbnb. I watch a lot of true crime. Okay, I was prepared for this. I locked the doors. I wedged the chairs. This is an important note. I wedged the kitchen chairs up under the doors leading to the outside. Staring at this man. with his back to me, and my dog, Crouton, locks in and sees what I see, and he starts his little, okay, well, time is limited. He's about to turn around. So my choice is either to lunge into the room in front of me and undo the crate and get my German Shepherd to eat this man, or there's a banister right here by the fireplace and the bedroom. So I duck right back here. So as I duck behind this banister, there's like a vase. So the wall and the vase, and I'm behind it, but I can kind of see into the kitchen while this vase is like covered. I got one eyeball on him, okay? My dog is still like, I close the door ever so quietly and I flip the lights on and I'm like, Sebastian, get up. And he's like, what's going on? I'm like, there is somebody in our kitchen. There's somebody in our kitchen. Holding the door, and I grab my phone and I'm like, I'm just gonna call 911. Like, this is not my house. This is an Airbnb that somebody has broken into. And my dogs are out there. So I call the cops and I'm like, I'm at the Airbnb, like track my location. Somebody broke into our Airbnb. I don't know who this person is, and I don't know if they're dangerous or they're like mentally stable. I don't know. Y'all gotta come in here and handle this. So as I'm on the phone with the cops, I'm like, this is such a wild way to die. Like, I would hate to be murdered at an Airbnb. I'm here for bridesmaids duty, not policeman duty. The only thing that I will be policing is the bride's tequila shots, okay? That's what I'm here for. So longer story short, 3 minutes feels like half an hour. The cops get there. The door that we have to let them in is like right outside this bedroom door. So Sebastian's like, okay, like, let me go and like, we'll get him in here fast. Opens the door, pulls the chair out from under the door, unlocks it, lets the cops in. Now I've got 4 cops surveilling this Airbnb. We can't find him. This man was large, okay? And we can't find him. So that's when I noticed that in the kitchen, the only other door leading to the outside also still has the chair wedged under it. Meaning that nobody could have broken inside and then broken back out and leaned the chair up under, you know what I'm saying? Like, you couldn't do that from the outside. So he is nowhere to be found. And I'm sure that I look crazy to these police officers who at this point find out that we don't live there, it's an Airbnb, and they skedaddled. They ran out of there like an old Cartoon Network scene. I'm just in this house convinced. I'm like, Sebastian, there's no way someone left. There's no way somebody left. They are still in here. Well, there's nothing. There's no attic. There's no floorboards. I pulled out every book of a bookshelf. Nothing turned around. I don't know where this person came from. I opened every cabinet. I looked in the oven. This person disappeared. To call that other than like a mimic or something like that. Like, I walked out and maybe it didn't see me, or it did. I don't know what the situation was. What I can tell you is I did not go back to bed. That bridesmaid's morning started 4 a.m. for me. I was not going back to sleep at all. And then here's the thing. After the wedding the next night, I'm like, well, I have a choice to make. Do I either stay in this Airbnb the second night, or do I just drive home? More things that happen, like the lights would randomly just turn off and on. The TV would turn itself off and on. Like the oven and dishwasher door like flew open. So there were other things that were weird too. But those were the main ones. So yeah, just wondering, guys, have you too ever accidentally called the cops on a ghost? My mom used to say if it was a snake, it'd bitch you. Yeah, well, if it was a murderer, I'd be dead, because I did not move fast enough. I did not.
This is the craziest Appalachian story I have ever heard. So Casey grew up in the Appalachian Mountains, and she was always taught, if you see it, no you didn't. If you hear it, no you didn't. So one day when she was 17 years old, her and her cousin Lexi finally convinced their parents to go camping with each other. Now Lexi had invited her other friend, but she said that she couldn't make it, so they are like, all right, whatever. So they pack everything up and they start driving to the woods. Now Lacey and Lexi have been camping before. This is not their first time, and nothing suspicious has ever happened before, so they weren't really worried about it. So nothing happens the first night. Well, the second night, she's sleeping, well, she's laying in bed, and she hears footsteps around the tent. Now she's hearing it, but she's not thinking anything of it. She kind of just was like, okay, I'm gonna ignore it. So she slept through it. Same thing on the second night, same thing on the third night, but on the fourth night, something happened. She starts to hear the footsteps again, right? But she's like, okay, maybe it's my cousin. So she looks next to her. Her cousin is right next to her. It's not her cousin. Now this is not the time to be going outside, because around there, this is like the witching hour, she said. So she looks outside of the tent and she sees this shadow, and she's thinking that must just be a trick of the mind. Like, I'm just seeing things. She's obviously not checking because because she doesn't want this to turn out like a horror movie. So she's like, okay, I'm just gonna put the blankets over my face and I'm gonna go back to sleep. But then she starts to hear this clanking sound and she's like, what is that? Because nothing in their vicinity would make that clanking sound. Everything that they had put away in a separate tent. So she's just repeating in her head over and over again. If you see it, no you didn't. If you hear it, no you didn't. But then the clanking is getting louder and louder, like more deliberate, almost like this thing wanted her to open the tent and look at it. But she's like, there's no way I'm doing that. So she just closes her eyes really, really tight until she hears a faint Lacey. And it sounded just like her cousin, but something inside of her was like, that is not my cousin. And if she needs me, she will wake me up. Plus, she's laying right next to her. So she ignores it until the calm Lacey turns into this loud, panicking, almost screeching sound. But whatever this is still saying Lacey. It's just screeching it. Now, she said the way that this sounded was really weird because it sounded loud to her, but she almost knew it wasn't loud, almost like it was in her head, but it was clear as day to her, if that makes sense. So with her eyes still closed because she's absolutely terrified at this point, she like somewhat turns to her cousin and she pats like where her sleeping bag is to see if she's there, and sure enough her cousin is there. So now she's super freaked out and she's repeating the phrase in her head over and over again. If you see it, no you didn't. If you hear it, no you didn't. Well, it eventually faded and it was silent once again, so she falls asleep. But then she wakes up to her cousin staring at her. So Lacey kind of like sits up because she's like, what's going on? What's wrong? And her cousin is just acting like everything is fine, like everything is normal. So Lacey just kind of shrugs it off and is like, maybe she's trying to scare me. I guess her and her cousin like scared each other a lot, and so she was like, she didn't get me this time, like I'm just going back to sleep. The next day goes on as normal. They have a good time and she chooses not to say anything because she doesn't want to bring it into existence until later on that night they start telling each other horror stories. So her cousin's telling a story when suddenly her voice lowers and she's like, did you hear that last night? And she froze because she thought that she was asleep. In fact, she knew that she was asleep. She felt her body not moving. She could hear her like shallow breathing, and she just knew she was asleep. So she's like, well, I thought you were asleep. What did you hear? And her cousin's like, I heard wind chimes and like drumming, almost like there was a ritual being performed. And she said, like, I think I was dreaming, but it didn't feel like a dream. I mean, I was wide awake, but I couldn't move my body. So was it sleep paralysis? She said she had absolutely no control of her body, but that she felt Lacey tapping her, so she wasn't asleep. So Lacey is like, well, something weird happened to me last night too, and she starts telling her cousin what happened to her. But before she can even get the sentence finished, they start hearing footsteps all around them. I say all around them, it sounded like there was a group of people marching towards them from all directions. So Lacey is frozen in fear, and her cousin are just sitting there not knowing what to do, and then her cousin looks at her and they both just jump up and they bolt out of there. And this is where it gets effing crazy. They're running until all of a sudden they have to stop because right in front of them is Lexi's friend, who initially could not come with them, told them that she was not coming, and she's standing right in front of them smiling at them. All she says is, I'm sorry I'm late to the campsite, but I'm finally here. So Lacey turns to her cousin turns to her, and her cousin just shakes her head aggressively like she's terrified of her own friend. Lacey also said that there was something just uncanny about her and she couldn't put her finger on it, but suddenly she speaks again and she says, why are you guys running? And she takes a step closer to them. So Lexi and Lacey take a step back, and as soon as they do this, her friend's smile starts contorting. Like, I mean, like bending and waving as if someone was drawing a painting. Her voice got super high pitched, like she almost couldn't even hear her speaking anymore. It was so high pitched. And then Lacey's ears start bleeding, and Lexi's friend just starts screaming like this crazy scream, and her face starts like contorting as if she's in pain, and she's screaming like she's in pain. And so Lacey and Lexi look at each other and just start running as fast as they can. As they're running, this is fucking crazy. So they can still hear the marching all around them, and she turns around and she sees Lexi's friend essentially on all twos because she's running with one arm and one leg, and her face is cocked sideways. Her face is not even a face. She has multiple mouths, multiple ears, but the mouths and ears are on her face. She said it was the most unsettling thing she has ever seen. So Lacey and Lexi are running as fast as she said it was the fastest she's ever ran in her entire life, and they don't know where they're going. They have no devices on them whatsoever, and they're now lost in the forest. And they look around and the trees were like extending. She said that they were extending up from like 100 feet in the air, and she said that she would have noticed more details, but she was running for her life, so she doesn't know exactly what was going on there. So they continue to run, and they're running until finally she hears this like honking sound and then these bright lights, and she notices that it's a car. The car stopped inches in front of them. It slammed on their brakes. And as soon as this happened, they obviously stopped and they look around and that thing that was chasing them was gone. They both just collapsed on the floor crying. For all they knew, this stranger could have been someone who was going to kidnap them, and they just did not care at this point. It wasn't a kidnapper though. It was some sweet lady who had kids in the car, and she actually took them to her house so that they could call their parents. She said that they told the lady the story, and she just kind of looked at them like they were absolutely insane, and that their stuff is probably still out there somewhere in the woods because they did not go back to get that ever. She also said that this experience fundamentally made her leave that area. She actually moved away. And she said that she wants everybody to know, if you ever go to the Appalachian Mountains, if you see it, no you didn't. If you hear it, no you didn't. And if you feel it, no you didn't. Wasn't that story wild? I got that and I was reading it and I was like, what is going on here? That is crazy to me. The whole, her friend running on like two legs freaked me out. And having like the ears and the mouths on the face, I have trypophobia, and that just makes me think of that. And I cannot handle it. I cannot handle thinking about it. I would be so angry if I saw that just because of that. I don't know how scared I'd be at that point. I think I'd just be pissed that I had to look at that face. I would love to know what your thoughts, opinions, and comments are on this one. Please be respectful, but I want to hear what everyone thinks this was. Was this a mimic? Was this an SW? Like, what was this? Because I've never heard anything like this before. This is the first for me, and I read a lot of scary stories. And if anybody else has had an experience like this, you need to email me immediately, please, because this is crazy. I want more Appalachian stories for Halloween. I would like to do an Appalachian story every day until Halloween comes. So if you guys could send me them, that would be great, because that's what I want to do. I just don't have enough of them to do it, but that's what I want to do for the rest of October. And with that being said, drop all your thoughts, opinions, suggestions in the comments, please, but be respectful. And I am now going to do my favorite part, which is the shout outs. Angel Rain _213. You search me every day, and I love that so much. Thank you so much for doing that. My content wasn't hitting the FYP, or I don't know if it is or not, whatever, but I don't care, because I have my little community that I absolutely adore, and I love that you search me out. That means so much to me. Thank you so much for your unwavering support and for being kind in my comments. Thank you for being excited about my live. I'm so excited for you to be there, and just thank you so much for being kind and just being here for me. You have no idea how much you mean to me as an individual, as being a part of my community, and I hope you know that. I appreciate you. I love you, girl. Miss Banana 1107. You are so sweet. You said that I was part of your bedtime routine. I love that so much. I listen to scary stories every night, so to be someone else's scary story is so great. Like, it makes me feel so giddy. I love it so much. Thank you so much for supporting me. Thank you for commenting and telling me that. Thank you for being a part of my community. It means so much to me, and I'm running out of time right now, so I'm so sorry. I wish I could say more, but I hope you know how much I appreciate you and I love you, girl. With that being said, my name is Kaisa, and I tell true scary stories on here every single night that you guys submit to me, so if you're into that, hit that follow button. Keep sending me your scary stories. Have a safe night. Have a spooky night. Love you guys so much.
So I went hiking on the Appalachian Trail by myself this weekend as like one of the first like winter hikes that I was gonna do for the year, right? And I'm walking, and then I come across this clearing, and it's like completely clear. Like nobody touched the snow, not even animals, nothing, until I get to this one section, and that's when I start to see like footprints that just kind of appeared out of nowhere. And hold on, I gotta situate. So I come to this clearing, right, and I start to see like footprints that like appeared to appear out of nowhere. Like they just appeared there. Where did they come from? Where did they go? Where did they come from? Cotton Eye Joe. Fuck you. Okay, I'm trying to add humor to this situation, because like honestly I cannot tell for the life of me if I was hallucinating or what the fuck even happened. I don't know if I like intertwined with like some kind of time jump or like different dimension. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think though, okay? So I'm walking and I see these footprints, and I love to take pictures and I love to make videos and I love to like just have my phone out all the time, right? So I have my phone out and I go to take a picture of these footprints in the snow. So pretty, like random footprints in the middle of an untouched patch of snow, like an untouched field of snow, right? Like you wouldn't want to take a picture of that? Am I weird? Okay, back it up, because that's not the weird part. The weird part is that the fucking footprints were not showing up on my camera, but I could see them with my own eyes, okay? This is leading up to the next crazy fucking thing that I saw, okay? This is like the most unexplainable thing. I don't even know what, I don't know. I don't fucking know. This is where I'm like, was I hallucinating? But like, how could I have been hallucinating? It wasn't even that cold. You know, okay, I'm rambling because I'm like, yo, what? Whatever, I keep going. I'm walking further down wherever. And then I come across this man, okay, like off in the distance, just standing there, back turned towards me, head turns away from me, like everything, no, he's not looking in my direction. And he's pretty far away, so I can't see him. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna use my phone and like zoom in a little bit and see where. Sorry, that freaked me the fuck out. There was like something that like popped up back here. I don't know. So I'm zooming in to see what the fuck this guy is up to, but my phone camera does not see what I see. My phone camera does not see the man standing there. Bruh, like, what do you mean? I'm sorry, what? So I put my phone down and I look and he's there. I put my phone back up. He's gone. I take my phone down. He's there. I pick my phone up. He's gone. Do you understand the cycle that kept going on back and forth? And motherfucker was just standing there with his back turned. I know I probably shouldn't have. I probably should have just turned around and walked away. But I asked like, hey, you need some help? Hey, are you okay? That's when I see him start to turn around. But it's not his whole body turning around, right? It's just his head slowly turning towards me. Buddy, that was enough for me. That was enough for me. Even if none of that creepy shit happened before that, there's a man that just noticed you all alone out in the woods. You're gone. We gotta get out of here. Skedaddle. But honestly, I don't even have an answer as to who that was, what that was, or what happened because I got the fuck out of there. But basically, my phone camera was not picking up what I was seeing. And I want to know if that's happened to anybody else because that's never in my life happened to me before, ever. I have an iPhone fucking 17 Pro Max. I'm pretty sure there's nothing fucking faulty about this thing, okay? I don't know. It's freaked me out to the point where I can't stop thinking about it. So let me know if you guys have experienced anything similar.
The Appalachian Mountains are haunted. If this is the first video that you were ever watching about the Appalachian Mountains, you are about to go down the biggest rabbit hole ever. And if you are on the side of Appalachian TikTok, then keep listening because I have some things to say. First of all, don't come for my pronunciation. I am in the South and it's pronounced differently depending on where you are on the map. Just a little backstory. My dad grew up in South Carolina. His parents' house was technically in the Appalachian Mountains and there was always weird stuff that happened at this house, and it wasn't until my 20s that I like put the two and two together. One time I was scrolling on my phone late at night on TikTok and I came across this video of a girl and her friend who had broken down on the side of the road. Everything turned out to be okay, but they were like, thank goodness we knew the rules of the Appalachian Mountains. And I went, the rules of the Appalachian Mountains? And that's what started my TikTok spiral. So when my dad moved into this house that his parents, my grandparents, built, there were some really weird things that happened. The stories that I'm about to tell you are stories that have been passed down for years. Like, we always knew about these stories, and as kids, we slept in this house at night, and it was just always a little eerie. The first night that the house was built and people could be inside of it, my grandfather was by himself and he heard the phone ring. They had their landline put in. I don't know what it looked like back in those times, but he picks up the phone and he's talking to whoever's on the other end and he feels a hand pressed down on his shoulder. Obviously, he turns around and he's freaked out because there's nobody behind him. So that's the first story in this house that is a little bit eerie. Take off my earrings really quick. So then the rest of the family eventually finally moves in now that it's complete. My dad, his two brothers, his sister, my grandmother, everybody. So then the weird footsteps start happening. So the house is like a 2-level. It's not like a 2-story, but it's like a main level, and then it has like a basement with like, not a basement, it has windows and everything, but that's where all the kids sleep. So there's this long hallway across that gets to the master bedroom where they are, and then underneath where all the kids are. My dad has a couple of his friends over. He's like a little kid, and they're down in the basement, like where all the bedrooms are, and they hear this heavy walking across the hallway, like with heavy boots. And at first they're like, you know, are these people that have been working on the house, or like, who's here? Basically, like, they were like, what the heck? And then they walk upstairs and it's obviously nobody. And I remember my dad actually called, I don't know why his parents were out that night, but he called his dad, my grandpa, to see if they could come back and like come back early because they were so freaked out. So that's the kids hearing things, but then everyone starts hearing the same heavy walking down the hallway at different times, like of the week, month. Like everyone experiences this heavy walking across the floor, even when they know that they're like at the house alone and there's no one upstairs. One time my dad is there by himself again, and this is common because his older siblings are like at least 10 years older, so they're like dating and stuff. So he hears like rustling downstairs, like moving around with like papers and like all this kind of stuff, and he's like, oh, my brother is going to play a prank on me, like he's gonna sneak up on me. So he like walks towards the bedroom, like ready to be like, ha, gotcha. And as he approaches the room that he hears it from, which I guess was his bedroom, it stops. And he walks into the bedroom and there's no one in there. My grandmother actually said that there was one time when she heard this heavy walking across the floor, like I explained, and she was by herself and she was so scared that she walked up the stairs with a baseball bat. So not only are the kids hearing this, the adults are hearing this too. So these are the stories that I grew up hearing, and so when I go down this TikTok rabbit hole and I hear about the rules of the Appalachian Mountains, I look them up and I'm like, what? So let me see if I can get them all correctly, and y'all can, you know, fact check me, and if I'm missing or saying them wrong, then please tell me. So the rules were, don't whistle in the woods. If you hear something, no you didn't. If you hear something close to you, it's far away. If you hear something far away, then it's actually closer to you. And always to stay on the marked trail, never leave the marked trail, and don't look too deep into the woods because you might not like what you see. I'm someone that enjoys looking into these kinds of things, and obviously you can tell by the kind of content that I produce that I enjoy kind of like the weird side of the world and the internet. And so I just go down Appalachian Talk and I'm just like, I'm thinking about these stories that I've grown up hearing, and I'm like, oh my gosh, the woods are haunted. Like, obviously. And I like to know like the history of things, like these kind of superstitions and rules and things they weren't taken lightly. Like way back, you know, in the 1800s, 1700s, these were things that people believed and they took very seriously. These were real things that people experienced. They held them sacred. And also, as beautiful and as amazing as these mountains are, when you're there at night, there's like a different vibe that like I can't really put my finger on. It's just there's just like this, the darkness is just so thick. Like it's a very creepy place. So if this is your first time hearing about the Appalachian Mountains being haunted, what are the things that people see? What are the things that people experience? Okay, we're gonna go into that next. People claim that, you know, people take mimics. That's another big thing that people experience in the Appalachian Mountains, where they hear their name being called by a voice that they recognize, but that person is at home. They see someone that they recognize, but it's not that person because that person's not even in that city. That's very common. Cryptids like Bigfoot, Mothman, and then just like beastly like creatures. Like when I did my research, there's a lot of trail cam footages of these people, entities, I guess. I mean, these stories are years and years and years and years of people's superstitions and experiences. So like I almost feel like it's kind of like small-minded of me to just be like, nope, none of it exists. So we are in the Appalachian Mountains this weekend, and every time I come up here, I love the mountains for what they are, but then when we're here at night, there's just like a different vibe and it just feels so eerie. And so I was like, well, I definitely have to come on and talk about it. I can't really talk and do mascara, so just a quick mascara break. Went and got my outfit on. Y'all, look at this romper. It's so cute. Okay, we're in the Appalachian Mountains this weekend, and I just can't help but think about all the stories and the Appalachian Talk, and I want to know your thoughts, and I'll let you know if anything weird happens while we're here. Not like anything will, but I don't know how I went 28 years without knowing any of this, but you never know. You know, you learn things new every single day. Take this out of my hair. So y'all leave me your thoughts. I want to know your stories. I want to know your thoughts and opinions on this topic. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.
So I live like a 2-3 hour drive away from the Appalachian Mountains, and if you don't already know, the Appalachian Mountains and Appalachia in general have a lot of very, very spooky lore around them. For the longest time, I didn't believe in any of that lore because every time I went to the Appalachian Mountains, nothing spooky happened to me. That's until a couple of weeks ago when I went on a road trip by myself through the Appalachian Mountains, and something so unexplainable happened to me that all I can think is that it was something supernatural. And I tried telling my friends about it, and they just don't believe me. Now you see, I was road tripping to Canada to see some friends in Toronto, and just for context, in order to get to Canada from where I live, you have to drive through the Appalachian Mountains. And it's about like a 6-7 hour drive if you don't stop. And my car was kind of dirty, and I didn't want to drive all that way in a dirty car, so I decided to take my car to the car wash to get it cleaned. Now, it's important to note that it was one of those drive-through car washes, and after I drove through, I went and parked my car to like vacuum it, and I checked outside, and my car was completely sparkly clean. That being said, I eventually leave the city in my clean car, and I start my road trip up to Canada, and everything is normal at first. That's until I get to the Appalachian Mountains. I'm just speeding along this road in rural Appalachia, pitch black outside, forest on either side of me, when out of nowhere, I hear this giant thud on my roof of my car. Now, at first, I thought it was a branch that hit my car, and it was pretty loud, so I was like, oh, I should probably pull over and see if my car was damaged. But something in me told me not to slow down or stop. Like, my spidey senses were tingling, and I'm so happy I did not stop. But I did like tell myself that I would stop at the next lit area, like gas station, rest stop, whatever it may be. So I just keep driving down this road, and as I'm driving, I just happen to look up through my sunroof, which has its like shader thing open, and I kid you not, I see a face in my sunroof. I freak out and I swerve a little bit, and I look back up, and the face isn't there. So I kind of doubt myself. I'm like, maybe I didn't see a face because it didn't look completely human. Like maybe it was just the trees or something. After that though, I was just really freaked out because something just did not sit right with me. So I just kept driving, and I did not stop until I had to get gas. But when I do eventually stop to get gas, I get out of my car and I see that my back windshield is chipped, and there are handprints all over the roof of my car. And as I said before, I got my car washed before this, and there were no handprints on my car, and I was with my car the entire time, so I have no idea how these got on my car. Now, the rest of my drive up to Canada was normal, but guys, the drive back home was arguably equally as weird, so let me know if you want to hear about that. But looking back, like, I still don't want to believe in this lore, but after what I just saw, or what I think I just saw, it's hard to explain it any other way. I don't know, have y'all ever experienced anything like this?
So I hiked the Appalachian Trail 2 times in 3 years, so that's almost 5,000 miles of hiking through the Appalachian Mountains, and I did this all by myself. And I posted a few videos from the Appalachian Trail here on TikTok, and they're from years ago, but all of a sudden they started resurfacing, and I got a couple 100,000 views in the last few days. And I did a little research, found out that it's all because of this girl's TikTok with this pink strawberry umbrella in a parking lot near the Appalachian Trail. And then I got through a rabbit hole of hearing all these ghost stories and like horror stories from people's experiences in the Appalachian Mountains. And that made me remember that I actually have a video of my scariest moment from my hike, and I have it on camera. So I don't think I've ever put this on TikTok before, but here, I'll show you the scariest thing that happened to me on the Appalachian Trail. Okay, this is a first for me on trail, and I don't know what I think about it. That's a goat. That's a lot of goats just walking right towards me. Oh my god. It's an army of goats. It's an army of goats. What are you guys doing? What are you guys doing? Oh no. No. Stop it. Stop it. Stop. Stop. Guys. No. No. Guys, the Appalachian Trail is not as spooky and scary as people on TikTok are making it out to be. Like, the scariest thing that happened to me during my 5,000 miles of hiking is the fact that a dozen goats ran up to me and started licking my legs. Now, don't get me wrong, I do believe that a lot of scary and dangerous things have happened to people on the Appalachian Trail, but scary and dangerous things happen to people off the Appalachian Trail too. But I do feel like people on TikTok are making it seem so much spookier than it actually is. And I do believe a lot of videos are kind of made up. They're just skits and people want to get a lot of views.
So when I moved from the San Francisco area to Georgia, it was a big change. It's the northern part of Georgia. And as some of you know, the Appalachian Mountains also has a lot of stories of like scary stuff, creepy stuff, and like, you know, just like experiences that people had to that whole mountain range, right? My grandpa's house was very big when we moved there and had a lot of land, had a bunch of acres, a lot of trees, a bunch of trails, like a bunch of stuff like that. There'd be trails that would like pop up out of nowhere that I've never seen before. I don't know, but I just remember us finding trails that were never there, and we still do to this day. Like, we would find shrines of the, like, it would be tree stumps, but shrines everywhere. And then we'd go far into the woods and stuff, and then we'd find like skulls of like goats and animals and stuff. Sometimes they'd be in it, like they'd be on a tree, or they would be in the shrines, which is really weird. What was also weird is that there was a truck that was on a tree. Like the tree like grew through the truck, and the truck was like up here, so we could look up and you just see a truck and a tree through it. I don't know, it was really weird. But especially at night, I would see stuff, and I do remember my parents saying that they see stuff at the house all the time or hear stuff. This is also the time of my life where I was watching Slender Man videos and like Jeff the Killer stuff, like, you know, creepypasta stuff. So like I think that the area kind of like made me get into that. Also freaked me out more, which is probably not a good idea. This person that lived in like this old house that was like in the woods and stuff, and he would get angry when people would go around it. But I remember me and my friends seeing like random smoke coming from the ground, and then I remember seeing people that were walking around the trails that like just disappeared. I remember there was one time that me and my friend saw a naked guy in the woods too. We ran home. I remember telling his parents didn't believe us and stuff, so that was kind of annoying. But I still remember that like that image in my head of that. There's also a time where downstairs there's these two doors that would like that you could open to go outside or whatever, but it was really weird because it was extremely windy, and then my dad was next to me sleeping, and then the doors opened and swung open and slammed, and my dad woke up screaming. And my dad told me that like he had a dream that somebody was coming in there to hurt us, and that he like woke up screaming. So he saw the person walk through the doors in his dream to open the doors, but then the doors opened because of the storm. Freaked me out. Sometimes we'd hear people talking that are not there. There was one time where me and my friend were waiting for my friend to come, and the woods got completely silent. And I already knew what that meant because I learned about that. The woods got completely silent. And I looked at my friend and I was like, what the fuck? And then the bushes and stuff, it sounded like something was moving through the bushes around us because we were in the driveway. There was like sounds of like something moving in the bushes and stuff. One was right here, one was behind us, one was this way. And then I remember a wind just started picking up really quick, and like everything got all like intense, and like whatever was back there was moving, and me and my friend were looking at each other all freaked out. And all of a sudden my friend got there and he like speeds into the driveway like all crazy, and then all of a sudden it just stops. Obviously I liked exploring stuff, but I never went by myself. I always like exploring places like with my friends and stuff. And I remember going at night one time, and literally I swear all of us stopped and looked, and we could barely like picture something standing there that we couldn't see, but it looked like a person, but it was standing there looking at us, and it was walking closer to us, but like really slow. And it didn't like it looked like a shadow walking towards us, and we like ran through the bushes and stuff like that to get to the other side. But the weird thing is that sometimes when we'd get freaked out or like we try to like leave, the trails would like, it's like we completely forget like the trails. Like we would get lost and go in circles and circles and circles. And one time we were stuck in there for hours. Like walking through those trails, it's like we'd go to one trail, then we think we're going back, and then all of a sudden we're like way farther than we were, even though there's like, I don't know. I think that I don't know if the area just messes with people's heads or something or whatever, but it's like we couldn't get out of the woods. Like we'd go far into it, even though we remember how to go back, we'd try to go back, we'd end up somewhere else. It's like we kept getting stuck in there. So me and my friends would always have like 2 or 3 people at the front so that like they could yell for us. There's another story that I'll post too about me and my friends going to an abandoned house. There was a time where, I don't know, I think there's like a bunch of like people who live deep into those woods that probably live there forever. But the Appalachian Mountains are beautiful. Like it's beautiful nature, but like you go deep into that, it's like you get in a completely different territory. I mean, I'm pretty sure other people have different experiences with that stuff. I remember hearing people that live there like just tell me all these stories, what not to do, and like don't listen to certain things, and like if you hear people's names, or if you hear your name getting called, or if you hear whistling in the woods, or don't whistle in the woods, like older people would tell me that stuff because they lived there for so long. So I don't live there anymore. That was my experience in that, dealing with the Appalachian area. But yeah, you guys should let me know. I just want to see you guys' opinion on this and see if you guys have had the same things happen to you. I have a lot of stories about anything, so yeah, follow if you want to hear more.
Hey friends, this story was sent to me by one of my viewers who swears up and down that this truly happened to her out on the Appalachian Trail. So if you like spooky, scary story times, stick around. She and her brother had been planning this trip for a really, really long time to go hike one of the sections of the Appalachian Trail in the more rural area of Tennessee, kind of bordering North Carolina and Tennessee. She said she remembers the day starting off normally, but the feeling in the air was just really heavy. She said it was like thick with humidity, just kind of like that icky, sticky feeling. By dusk, they were completely exhausted. They had been hiking for the entire day. They went off and they found a little clearing so that they could pop up their tent and set up camp for the night. There was no wind, no kind of like sounds, just the silence of the forest. She said it was kind of like an eerie, quiet feeling, like the earth was listening to her, or just trying to be so quiet that it could almost hear their thoughts. Even though they felt a little bit uneasy, they still fell asleep in their tent. And around 1:30 a.m., she woke up, startled. And at first she didn't know why she was woken up, then she heard it. A voice from outside of her tent calling her name. It wasn't loud, it wasn't super aggressive, it was kind of just like the whisper of somebody who would be sitting right next to you, like a soft kind of coaxing voice. Her first thought was that it was her brother, and when she looked over to see if he was in his sleeping bag still, he was gone. So she sprung into action. She unzipped the tent and was shining her flashlight through the trees in the pitch darkness of the Appalachian Trail, mind you. And that's when she saw him. Or what looked like him. He was about 20 feet away from her, just kind of leaning against a tree. He was wearing the same jacket, he had the same backpack on, straps all hanging loose. He looked like he was kind of slumped over, like tired, or maybe even injured, but his face was turned just enough so that she couldn't see it. And then he started talking to her. He said, "Come here, it's me, I'm injured, I'm hurt, come here." She said the words were his, like she could tell that it was his voice, but something about it was wrong, like almost as if it was coming from a recording. Like it was kind of laggy, like half a second too short, almost distorted. She said that in that moment her stomach flipped upside down and she called out to him and she said, "Eric, are you okay?" Which, if you know anything about Appalachia, you know that the first rule is to never speak back to a voice that you hear. Like, I get it, I know you thought that it was your brother, but like, oh, fuck. Anyways, once she said Eric, that's when the thing's head snapped directly towards her. Like, snapped with a sickening sound crack through the fucking forest, she said. She said once the thing turned its face completely towards her, it wasn't even a face. It was more of just like skin stretched out to like cover something, or to just like cover your bones, to cover your skull. There was no face, it was just skin. Naturally, she froze, standing still like deer in headlights, when all of a sudden from behind her she heard, "What are you doing outside of the tent?" So she whips around and there's Eric peeking his head out of the tent that she had just come out of after seeing him not in his sleeping bag. She looked at him, then she turned back around. The thing was completely gone. And when she was trying to explain to him like what she saw, he was completely not having it. He was not believing it. She said that she was too scared to like take down the tent and then go hike off back into the woods, back to their car, because they were already pretty far in there. They were were pretty deep in the woods. Yeah, she says that she's still super mad. But yeah, she says that she's still super mad at her brother for not believing her. But yeah, crazy shit happens in the middle of nowhere. Urge the cowardly dog all the way, you guys. Anyways, if you guys have a story that you would like me to read for you, please feel free to send it to my email. I'll either have it linked below down here, or I'm gonna put it in my bio so that people can just email me stories and I will read them. And I'm super excited to hear about all of your experiences.
I know y'all seen that white girl video. She live in the Appalachian Mountain. She's talking about she clean the inside and the outside of her windows because she don't like pollen buildup. Then one day she looking out the window and she see handprints on her stuff like this. She literally showed the handprints in the video. It's like this, like somebody looking into her place. She go check one of her 5 Ring cameras. It caught nothing. It caught nothing. She said there's no way to get on up to that window without being caught on camera. She caught nothing. But again, she said she live in the Appalachian Mountains. After all I hear, I wouldn't dare take my black ass up there. But you know, they do it. They do it. I think they love it for the thrill. You know what I mean? Then on top of that, she said she wake up to her dog going berserk in her room because she don't even like being out and about in her house when it's dark. So her dog sleeping there with her because she ain't gonna let her dog be out there. She said she wake up to her dog going crazy and the hair standing up on his back. He's barking at the door. She said she jump off the bed and she locked the door. Black approved, because don't go check it out. She didn't go check it out. Black approved. You're gonna have to blow the door off the hinges to come get me out of this room. Anyways, she waits till the morning. She go out there. She said she had 2 Stanley cups upside down on a drying mat. They was both in the sink, right next to each other, stood up. And it happened not once, but twice. This is the part that clears me. She go ask the landlord, do he have any history on the house? Like, who was there before her? Woo, woo, woo. He said, no, you know, we just bought the property and rented it out. Thought it'd be a good opportunity. She goes searching. She found the person living in the house. He died in the house. She said he just was an old veteran, whatever. The family name is listed in the obituary. So she looking at the family. She found somebody in obituary that lives still in the area. His son. Why is the landlord pictured with the son that he said he didn't even know about? So you knew that man died in that house. You still sold that house to that girl without even telling her. That's fishy. That's fishy. Girl, I would have been world's fastest packer. I don't even play like that. Handprints, loud crashes. And you know when animals get to going crazy, it's raps. Girl, she's talking about she's still under lease, so she can't do anything about it. Oh, baby, I have 50,000 things you can do about it. Oh, hell no. Like, literally, I reposted the video so you didn't have to go look for it. But, baby, like, good riddance. Alex, get the hell out of that house, girl.
I genuinely don't know what to do with this information. Have you guys heard about the knot deer in the Appalachian Mountain? I did a video about the feral people that went viral, which you can watch up there if you want, and how it tied into a certain true crime case. But I dove back down the rabbit hole to find more info for you guys, since you guys have been DMing me wanting me to cover this topic again. And oh my gosh, what I found. Before we get into it, guys, make sure you follow my YouTube. I'm going to link it up here because I don't know if TikTok's getting banned and I don't want to lose you guys. Without further ado, let's get into the tea. I am never camping. I am never camping on the Appalachian Trail. Let me just tell you that. Have you guys heard about the knot deer? So essentially, they show up on those really dark roads where like literally all you can see is your headlights and the rest is just like nothing but nothing. You don't know what could come out. You don't know what could jump in front of your car. And a lot of people have been saying, that while driving down roads in the Appalachia, they have come across a certain kind of deer that they believe to be a skinwalker or a cryptid. And basically these deers are the uncanny valley of animals. From far away, they look like normal deer, right? But the closer and closer that you get, the more that they start to change and shapeshift, like having more than 4 legs or their antlers warping. And people have even seen them walking on their hind legs, and not like to get things out of trees, but walking on their hind legs like humans. And they always have these like bright glowing eyes, and sometimes you can even spot a third one right here. Almost everyone that has accounted to seeing them said that they feel this like pit in their stomach, like they know something is wrong or something is going to happen. Me personally, after hearing the rules, right? Hearing the rules about mimics and
If someone calls your name in the woods, don't go in the woods. I'm good. I'm so good on Appalachia. I've even heard some locals saying that these are forms of mimics, you know, those things that knock on your door or try to get into your home, and they take the form or voice of a loved one. Like, you know, those videos where someone will be talking to their mom and then they get a text from their mom saying, honey, I'm on my way. And they look up and realize that person's not their mom. That's what I'm talking about. And let me tell y'all, if even a modicum of this stuff is true, I am so good, right? I'm good. I'm gonna stay in my bed. No camping for me. I'm okay. Because it's definitely giving familiar spirits or demons or something. Whatever it is, honey, I don't want to know. There are so many other creepy things that I have uncovered about the Appalachian Mountains. If y'all want me to start a series on the lore of this place, let me know and I got you. As always, make sure you like and follow and let me know in the comments what you think.
You all right?
Okay, so we are on tour right now, and we were driving to the next city, and we pulled up to a truck stop near the Appalachian Mountains last night, and it was around 1:30 in the morning. We rolled in, and our generator stopped working last night, so we opened up all the windows, and we had no power, and we were just like, all right, we're gonna hunker down and sleep here for the night. We woke up this morning, and we had a note on the RV that said this. It says, Dad, call me. We woke up super early to that, and we're all kind of freaked out right now because we all know the stories about this area, but...
Also, it was heavy raining all night, so the note was, like, soaking wet in the front of the, like, stuck to the windshield.
Yeah. If anyone knows about the area or lives in the area, knows anything about this, let us know if this is weird or if maybe we're just being pranked. Yeah, drop in the comments and tell us what you think because we're a little bit spooked out.
Also, should we call the number?
That part too. We really want to call it.
You have to understand that when you go into the Appalachian Mountains, you are entering into another realm. And there is a set of unspoken rules that you must follow. Rule number 1, if you hear something calling your name, right, you didn't. There is nothing there. And you should not respond. Do not say hello. Do not say, who is it? Just run away. Because something is trying to gain permission, and by you acknowledging it, you are allowing it to come after you. If you hear screams in the mountains, right, you didn't. And do not go towards the direction of the screams to try and help, because once again, something is trying to lure you. If you see people, you don't. If you hear crying, you're not hearing it. Do not respond to this at all because you are giving permission to whatever is in those woods to come after you. Now, if you are to go camping in the Appalachian Mountains, right, you have to remember, at night, you must keep a fire going at all times. And it's not for warmth, it's not for cooking, it's to keep you safe. And if you are going to camp in a tent, make sure when you go into that tent, it is sealed up. There are no holes, there are no cracks. And if you hear any kind of screaming, yelling, or anyone calling your name, do not respond. Do not go to sleep. And if something wakes you up, stay alert, and once again, do not respond. Now, it's very important when you are walking through the Appalachian Mountains, if you come across a deer carcass, do not touch it, do not stare at it, walk away, ignore it, because this is something, once again, trying to lure you into the woods. Now, if it comes to the point that something is chasing you and it gets you and there is no escape, fight as hard as you can, whether it's a person, an animal. If it's something else though, and you know what I'm talking about, well, you just let it get you, right? Because at that point, there's nothing you can do. And there's an old saying, you go into the Appalachian Mountains with 2 bullets, right? You fire the first one at something that isn't a person, that isn't an animal. And if it doesn't run away, you know what to do with the second one.
So, are the Appalachian Mountains really haunted? From someone who's been there multiple times over many years? Hell yeah, they are. For reference, here's me as a child in a cabin we had up in the woods. No neighbors around for miles. This was one of our 2 cabins up in the Appalachian Mountains. We no longer own it. As you can see, from me being a kid to a young adult, I have a lot of experience of exploring, traveling, and really weird shit in Appalachia. So one day I was going on a hike in the Appalachian Mountains by myself, and I came along this tunnel, and it's a very long tunnel, as you can see, very dark, and I was like, fuck it, why not? I'm gonna go through it, you know, I want to get to the other side. I shit you not, when I went through it, not only did I feel like I was being watched the entire time, I know it's dark, paranoia, I shit you not, I heard whispers. There were people or things or entities whispering to me. And I'm not a schizophrenic, you know. There's some serious dark shit when you travel deep into Appalachia.
My family lives near the Appalachian Trail, and I've lived near the Appalachian Trail for nearly my entire life in 2 different states. Actually, 3 different states, sorry. 3 different states I've lived almost really close to the Appalachian Trail. And people are always talking about how beautiful the trail is itself, like how tranquil it is and whatever. And my husband, who moved from Brazil, had never been there before. So we naturally decided to go camping there one time. I don't know if you're like familiar with Appalachia or anything, but once you step into those woods, like you can feel a significant change in the atmosphere. Like the energy just gets way more heavy and it's just weird. It feels off. You know that feeling in your gut when you just like know something's off? That's kind of how I was feeling the entire time that we were on the trail, but my husband was having a grand old time, and so I just pushed on. I was like, you know, he's having a great time. He's never been out in these types of woods before. We're just gonna keep going. Whatever, we hiked on, and then we finally found our little camping spot, and when we did set up our camping spot, that's when I noticed that the sounds in the forest had stopped. And if you know anything about the woods, that is not a good sign. We set up our camping spot anyways. I kind of glanced over at my husband to see if he was picking up on what the energy was around the woods, and he totally was too, but he didn't say anything about it, and we just kind of pressed on. Surprisingly though, we were able to fall asleep in our tent. Like the beginning of the night was fine, other than the uneasy feeling that we both kind of had. But I want to say it was around midnight when we started to hear the sounds of footsteps outside of our tent. And if you are like an avid camper, you know that like footsteps outside of your tent is like usually just an animal. However, you can always tell when it's an animal walking on 4 legs versus 2. If you know what I mean? So when we heard the footsteps, we froze and we listened and we were like, yo, this is not the sound of an animal. Like we could hear like kind of this low guttural growling that didn't sound like a bear. It didn't sound like any kind of animal that we've ever heard of before. Kind of like it wasn't a human, but it also wasn't quite animal. If that makes any sense. Does that make sense? I don't know what to tell you. It just sounded wrong. So my husband, being the big bad Brazilian that he is, he unzipped the tent and stuck his head out. Whatever he saw had him so damn shook that he muckled onto my arm so hard and he said, "Don't move. Don't move." He was like, "Don't look, don't look, don't look, don't move, don't look." And of course I looked. And what I saw has absolutely deterred me from going camping on the Appalachian Trail since. It was like this tall, pale, kind of like too thin to be a man type figure. Its arms were really gangly, like they were too long for its body. Mind you, I couldn't see it very clearly, okay, so I'm just like kind of telling you what the outline of what I saw looked like. I could tell that its head was kind of cocked to the side, like something does when it's kind of studying you know, like an animal or like something curious. It's like, and although I couldn't see its figure completely, I did see its glowing, creepy looking eyes. They looked like the glowing eyes of an animal off in the woods, but you know, they were like up too high to be an animal. It looked like a person, but somebody who's too tall to be a person, but they were standing like a man. Does that make sense to you? I don't really know how to explain it, but my mind knows what it looks like. We stayed locked in place, barely breathing, clutching onto each other, shaking. My chest felt like it was going to explode from holding everything in. Like the anticipation was absolutely crazy. Was this thing going to run at our tent? What was this thing going to do? Every instinct in my body told me to scream and run away, but both of those things in Appalachia are an absolute no-no. Those types of creatures love a good chase. Number one rule in Appalachia is if you've seen something, no you didn't. If you've heard something, no the fuck you didn't. And if you ever see something, you're supposed to just back away slowly. Not pay attention. I didn't see anything. I'm just gonna go back to my car. But anyway, after what seemed like forever, this thing finally stopped staring into our souls, dropped on all fours, and then skittered into the woods as fast as it could. When I say fast, like it was like there and then it wasn't. Like, yeah, we didn't go investigate, obviously. We hunkered down in our tent and we didn't move or sleep for the rest of the night. And as soon as the sky turned even the lightest bit of gray, we sprung into action and tore up our whole entire campsite and left as soon as we could. I've heard so many other stories of creepy things happening to people on the Appalachian Trail. So honestly, it just kind of seems like a thing that happens when you go there, which makes sense. I mean, those are the oldest mountains in America. They have a lot of history, a lot of creatures that we refuse to acknowledge. So if you ever decide to go to Appalachia, do not forget the rules of the woods.
First off, when I say feral, I ain't talking about no monster. This ain't no hills have eyes type shit, right? I mean people that have lived apart from society for so long that they have quite literally adapted different. They move differently than we do, right? And Appalachia, with its 500 million-year-old cave system that's 90% unexplored, is the one place that theory actually holds water. Listen, long before the U.S. existed, indigenous tribes like the Cherokee talked about the moon-eyed people. These were large-eyed, pale people that lived underground, would come out at night because they avoided sunlight, and sometimes they would even kidnap children. And boom, early settlers move in. Then the stories start about entire families living off in the mountains, separated from society, far away from town, avoiding outsiders, and speaking in a weird dialect. Coal mines start crisscrossing the region in the 1800s and the 1900s, and some coal miners would actually get stuck underground for weeks at a time. When they would emerge, they would have pale skin, be disoriented, unable to tolerate sunlight. Look, some locals still talking about some miners didn't come back up. Well, where the fuck did they go, Susan? Are they still down there? Listen, hear me out. If humans did live underground for generations, we would eventually adapt. We would have larger pupils to see in the dark. We would have pale skin from lack of sunlight. We would move differently because we're quite literally crawling around caves. We would also have heightened hearing and sensitivity to light and night vision, like I said. So I'm not talking about on some supernatural shit. I'm just talking about what happens when biology evolves in the dark. Like, think of the fish that live at the bottom of the ocean. They look wild. Listen, for decades, hikers and rangers in Appalachia have reported seeing naked people in the woods running through the trees. The fuck? They've also reported people being covered in mud, crawling on all fours. And then there's the reports of whistling or mimicking voices in the woods, which on that note, don't you ever go in the woods whistling. And then they report structures that don't look like they were made by campers, like they're made out of sticks and shit. And that's also when we nope the fuck out of there if you ever encounter something like that. These official or unofficial reports never say feral people. They usually say unidentified human presence, and then the case is closed or it's sealed. And I'm not saying that there's an underground society beneath our feet. All I'm saying is in the national parks, especially in Appalachia, people tend to go missing downward, like into the cave system, into underground mine shafts, into underground tunnels. So my question becomes, who's actually down there, or what is down there? Is it wildlife that we've never documented? Is it cave adapted humans? I'm talking like small isolated communities that went underground generations ago. Or is it something else completely? I'm just saying, y'all ever seen The Descent? Listen, I'm not claiming an answer. All I'm saying is the feral cave people theory is the only one that fits the pattern.
Have you ever heard of something called the knot deer? Because that's what we're talking about tonight. The knot deer is a cryptid, we'll call it, because I don't know what else to call it, that supposedly lives mainly in Appalachia. So anywhere where the Appalachian Mountains are, that's its home. It's a creature that looks like a deer from far away, but the closer you get to it, the more things that you start to see wrong with it. That can be multiple antlers, eyes in the front of its head instead of the side of its head, limbs that bend the wrong way, and sometimes deer that walk on hind legs. Now, there are deer that get up on their hind legs so that they can grab something off of a tree to eat. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about deer that walk on on their hind legs like a human does. Most of the people who have encountered this are driving on a road at night through a remote area, and they see a deer and they're like, oh, I need to slow down. There's a deer and it might jump out in front of me. And then the closer they get to it, the more things that they start to see are wrong with it. And everyone describes this feeling of dread, like they know something is wrong. The reason they're called not deer is because you know that's a deer, but it doesn't look like a deer. The best way I can describe it is if you are looking at something that you know has always looked like a certain thing, but there's just something off about it and you can't place it. Now, I haven't heard or seen any stories where this deer has done anything to harm people. It's just seeing something like that and you don't know what it is because it's not natural. So if you're ever out in the woods in the night, make sure you are keeping a lookout for the not deer.
So let me tell y'all about this little incident that just happened at my fucking house. So my 3-year-old, he's nonverbal, and he can only say like maybe 3 or 4 words. And he comes in and out the house all day long. Kid never wears shoes. He's just a little boy, little 3-year-old boy. And I can usually tell like wherever he's at. I can hear him getting in the shed or hearing him running on a porch. Nick's usually down in the garage if Nick is home. But 10-15 minutes goes by and I don't hear Bronx. So I holler down at Nick and I'm like, hey, do you have Bronx down there with you? Nick's like, no. And I'm like, well, I can't find him. So we look all around the house, can't find him. We're hollering for him. He's not saying anything. 2 or 3 minutes goes by. We're both getting in a panic mode. Nick hops into his truck. He drives down to the bottom of the driveway just to see if he might be at the neighbor's house, which he's never done before. And while Nick's down there, I'm still screaming for Bronx, and I finally hear him, but he's like way back in the fucking woods, And my kid has never went past like, I don't know, where Nick quits weed eating. I don't know. He doesn't ever go into the woods. He's never done that before. But I'm hearing him screaming, so I call Nick on the phone. I'm like, hey, he's in the woods, come back home. Nick comes back home. I'm running up in the woods trying to figure out where the fuck he's at, how he got into the woods, how he got way back in there, like he's barefoot. Like, how far are you gonna go if you're barefoot? Then I remember me as a kid. Anyways. And so, me and Nick are running back into the woods, and we're getting closer to him. We can hear him, you know, he's starting to get closer, but we still can't see him. And all of a sudden, like, it gets super fucking quiet, and I heard a woman's voice. We hear a woman's voice, and she says, he's right here. And like, we almost stopped dead in our tracks and look at each other. We didn't stop, but we turned around and looked at each other like, who the fuck has got our fucking kid in the fucking wood? Like, we don't even have any neighbors that are that close by. Like, our closest neighbor behind us is like 2 miles back in behind us. And we found Bronx. He's sitting on a log, bawling his little eyeballs out because he's either lost or afraid that he's going to be in trouble, whatever it is. But as we come off the mountain, I looked at Nick and I was like, you heard that, didn't you? And he was like, yeah. He was like, that was a woman, and she said, he's right here. I was like, I know, but there is no woman in fucking sight. And it still has my nerves tore up. Like, who was that?
I live in the Smoky Mountains, near the Appalachian border, okay? In Kodak, Tennessee. It's 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I need you to know what I just saw in the woods, okay? Me and our daughter are sitting in our hot tub on our property. Then I hear some leaves. I stand up over on the ledge of the hot tub to look over our privacy fence to shine the light. I have my shot pew in my left hand and my spotlight in my right hand. And I'm looking. Boom. See it. I say, Kaylin, get down right now. She gets off. She's standing in the hot tub. We're looking at this at the same time. I see this. Just one glowing green eye, okay? Everything around it is completely distorted. You can't see the two privacy lights that are long ways on the other property behind it. You can't see the red tower in the background. You can't see anything, okay? Everything around it is completely distorted. So I'm shining the light on it constantly, thinking that eventually it'll move. I'll be able to tell what it is, okay? It does like this. And it's this moment that I realize that whatever is watching us is intelligent and is watching us, okay? So we keep looking, trying to figure out what's going on. I watched this thing, we both did, go, crash down like this, okay? So now I can see like this instead of like this. From 4 legs and stand up and step around the tree from 4 legs to 2 legs, okay? And then it starts like this, like stepping, like weird gait, okay? It's not moving quickly. It's still just me and it, and that's it, all right? Me and my daughter and this thing. Complete silence. Complete silence. There should be noise from it walking on the leaves, moving through the woods, nothing. Something earlier chased my husband and my son Alexander when they were taking one of the chickens back outside.
Okay, so after it was moving really fast.
Yeah,
really fast, faster than deer.
Towards us. Yeah, from the same fucking place, the same place.
So I shot.
Lights to the right.
I shot a couple of times.
Right, fired off around.
Well, I've shot. I think I may have even hit it.
Right there, left. I just saw eyes right there.
Yeah, we've been seeing eyes.
Okay, my phone died. It literally went from 60 to 1 and then it died, okay? So we're sitting here, we realize what's going on. I say it's the chairs being drug across the concrete, okay? Then all of a sudden we hear tapping. The door is on the other side of this, right through those doors right there. The tapping was through there. That's where the hot tub is, on that side. And right along that side of the property line right there is where it was last night, okay? Then, right after 4 taps on that glass, something tried to put in a code on my front door. And it was wrong, and it went da-na-na-na, and then it left, and it was complete silence. This thing waited until the protectors of our home were gone to intimidate us. And not 1, but 2 this time.
This is alien, amphibian, alien, but also like they're trying to morph into more of a human attribute, like more of a human assimilation, like they're trying to assimilate into human life, into humanity. So right now what I'm doing is sort of going halfway in because I may need to completely bring myself onto the property, and I would want the owners of this video and of the property to approve that. So we're just going to do sort of a shallow dive. And I say that because once I do a deep dive, some of these facts may change. They may not, but they may. We are seeing, for those that follow me, this for sure is the second time, if not the third time, of a reference to these beings that are also amphibian-like. Amphibian, but also, like the word grandiose comes to me. Not sure why. Grand meaning large. But they're still immature beings. And what I mean by immature is that they are not fully enlightened, obviously. They are behaving sort of like thugs, obviously. They are a group from NAR 4- something. NAR for sure. Don't know if, I'm assuming maybe that's the name of the planet they come from, or maybe the name of the group itself. I'm also feeling a hierarchy in their group, almost to the point of this hierarchy is like, hey, we don't take responsibility for this childish behavior. So what that tells us is childish means manageable, which is good, because I'm not gonna lie, I called in some support before I jumped into this. But they're very naive. They aren't real organized. They're not real clear and bright about how to go about this. So they're doing only what they know because they are refusing to acclimate. So they're behaving from a place, from what they know, which is very animalistic. They're not communicating. They're not assimilating. They are refusing to adjust to us and instead just sort of bulldozing in. Unfortunately, because of this behavior, they will be hurt. And although I don't support or condone violence, I don't see an alternative for this family if this group continues to bulldoze their way onto their property. If I do a deeper dive with the family, we could communicate with the group and see if we can remove them from the property, push them, in essence, back into the woods, and I can require them to stay off. But that's going to require a deeper experience. So what they want, there's like a part of this land that goes, it's like it goes so deep into the woods, it feels like humans can't even reach that deep. I don't know if that's true. That's just what I'm hearing. And they're making their way into human society. And we're going to see more of them. But this is not from the approval of their higher ups or their elders. Their elders are just like, this is not how we want this to look or go. These are sort of rogue beings. And they don't even have necessarily a plan as much as they're just like rogue, like wanting to see, what is it? Who is it? What's over there? What are they doing? Why are they there? And they're very naive to their potential of being harmed. They do have capabilities that are above and beyond human capabilities, but they are not immune to a gunshot.
So, last night, right in my neck of the woods, search and rescue was called out to look for what appeared to be a baby that somebody captured on their security camera. Now, they did what I believe any of us would do, I hope, and that is contact the authorities. So, they came out, did their investigation, and they came to the conclusion that it was just a glitch. Now, I don't know if I'm buying it, but I have gathered all that I could, and I'm going to show you, and just let me know what you think. Alright, here is the original post. Here's a close-up of the baby. And here is the official report. Some more information with the timestamps. And right here you can tell 1 minute apart there's a baby and then poof, no baby. As if this isn't spooky enough, it gets even weirder. Her daughter took this picture and it looks just like the baby. Whoa.
When you're hiking in Appalachia, the second worst thing you can do is not know when you've shown up uninvited. And the worst thing you can do is turn down their invitation and leave. And if you don't know who they are, then this video probably isn't for you. Always stay on the deer trails. The snow's covered them a little bit, but the deer know where they're invited and they're not. And if you just follow them when you're invited, they'll bring you somewhere neat. They might have something left there for you. This looks like remains of a building. Just keep on the deer trail and you'll be good. More walls here. You just kind of go with the flow and don't stray off the path too much. It's okay to poke around and explore because they're not going to show you anything you don't want to see or they don't want you to see. The deer don't walk between these two mounds, you can tell. So we're gonna go this way. You can see here there's a block in the path and the deer don't cross it. You're okay to cross anything that the deer do cross, just don't cross anything the deer don't. Kind of hard to tell, this is a perfectly square pit in the ground. I'm not gonna poke around in there. Also some kind of platform. This whole thing is a foundation of a building of some sort. Make sure every time you stop and look at something, you take a second to be silent and listen very quietly, or else you might miss the next instructions. The structures seem to be getting bigger as I go along. Weird kind of design there. Kind of see it. Oh yeah, here we go. Stacked concrete cylinders and just like toppled all over the ground. Kind of hard to see them. A few over there, another in the distance. Yeah, it's getting bigger and bigger. I'm not sure what they're gonna lead me to, but there's a lot to just sitting quietly and waiting, because when you leave too quick, you miss things like this, but also might be a little bit offended by your abrupt departure. Some more over there. Yes, sir, we're getting bigger and bigger structures. That is hitting the ground. You really want to watch out for these pits. That's another reason the deer will guide you. Just watch where the deer walk. They know where to go. And they won't let you get hurt if you just listen carefully and be quiet and follow. Wow. This is significant. Look at this. This is an entire like concreted in pit. It's massive. Holy crap. Yeah, it just keeps going. Like I've never found anything this big before. Another smaller pit, and like I said, be careful. These things just have like little cave-ins, but you don't want to end up in wherever that goes. Snow does not support your weight. It's been going on for quite a while now, and at this point, they've mostly led me off. What the fuck was that? I was gonna say they led me off the deer trail. That interrupted me. I think at this point it would be very uncouth to try to reject their continued invitation. I think they're leading me out so quickly and not on the trails for a reason, because whatever that noise was unsettling. I think I see something up here. Another pit. Watch out for stuff like that. Just holes. Like, just don't. Be careful. I don't feel like I'm supposed to be here, but they're rushing me this way for a reason, I think. Like, these structures are getting weird. Like repeating patterns like this. I'm not gonna stick around to figure out what that is. Right as I walked up to this, the wind just blew snow all over me. So I don't think that is from the holy fuck. I did not see this behind me, like unironically. I have never seen anything like this in my life. I don't think I'm supposed to be here. I actually didn't see this behind me. More of those repeating stone structures. Yeah, this is the kind of shit you gotta look out for. See that? Gotta look carefully. Pack, man. We're not supposed to be here. Yeah, it's just been this for a while. I think this is the fastest way out, is what they're implying. All right, the deer don't walk this, man. It's the rule you don't break. This is I don't know what the fuck that was. Dude, I don't know what this shit is. Parallel concrete slabs. Just like that, we're out. I didn't get that last part very well because I felt rushed. If this is the kind of place I'm supposed to come back to, maybe not. Maybe not in winter. I don't know if you can see that, but that is if you're really quiet, if I'm really quiet, that is not a crow, that is a raven. Welcoming me back to my car. That's not an omen to not come back. There he goes, right overhead. And you can tell the difference between a crow and a raven is, a raven's like 2 octaves lower than a crow. Also, you can see he's carrying some sort of dead animal if you look real close. Oh yeah, look at him.
What the fuck this?
Oh, it slides.
I don't want to go in there.
Oh, it goes back.
Oh, hell. Oh, hell nah.
There's so much writing everywhere.
I mean, how old is...
Yeah, like the little windows over there.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. Look at this giant dollhouse.
What?
Nah, this shit freaky as hell. Who wrote on all these walls? The 1800s kids.
Alright.
Now you can just stay up here.
Wow.
This is exactly why you do not go into the woods in Appalachia by yourself. So this girl's name is Kay. She lives in Florida now. She's 22 years old, but when she was 16 years old, she took a trip with her friends to the Appalachian Mountains. Now we're gonna call her friends Megan and Alexa. Now Megan's grandmother lived in the Appalachian Mountains. They didn't really know what to expect going there, but they figured her grandmother lived there. They assumed the best. So they get to her grandmother's house, they unpack their stuff, and they go to their designated rooms. Now Megan's grandmother owned 4 horses. Their names were Izzy, Holland, Nay, and Atlantis. So after they relaxed for a little while, they decide that they want to go horseback riding. They were out there for about an hour and a half until they got hungry and went home for dinner. So the sun at this point is just setting and it's very quiet. So they eat dinner. Everything is fine that night. The next day around 9 a.m., Megan's grandmother goes and visits a sick friend, and she's not going to be back until the next morning. So after they eat breakfast and hang out for a little bit, they decide again that they're going to go horseback riding. It's about 1 p.m. at this point, and they go out to the stable to get the horses ready when they have a huge problem. Nay is missing. So they go out and they're calling his name. They're trying to lure him in with his favorite carrot treats, and to no avail. So they decide that they're going to have to go looking for him by themselves. But when I say by themselves, they're going to split up. So essentially they're going into the woods by themselves. So Kay goes in her direction and Megan and Alexa go in their directions. Well, Kay is good for about an hour. She's looking for Nay. She can't find him when she runs into something terrifying. Torn and tattered with scratch marks all over it, she finds Nay's collar. Now she immediately assumes the worst and she goes to call Megan and Alexa, and as soon as she tries to call them, the call doesn't go through. Well, right at that very second when the call doesn't go through, her phone rings. She looks down at it and it's no caller ID. And for a second she's like, okay, this has got to be spam. I'm not picking up. But something inside of her tells her to pick up that phone. Soon as she picks up the phone, dead silence. You could hear a pin drop. So she goes to hang up the phone when suddenly she hears something that makes her want to vomit. This deep, raspy voice echoed through the speaker. It sounded inhuman and the speech was slurred. I can see you. Don't run, don't hide. She is frozen in shock at this point. And then the next thing she knows, lights out. She's waking up and Megan and Alexa are shaking her awake. She had fainted. Now it's around 7 p.m. at this point and they want to get back to the house. So they start walking back to the house, but they can't see anything on the path that they're on. So as they're trying to find their way back to the house, they hear that same voice again, except for this time it says, I can see all of you. They bolt into the woods, scared out of their minds, and they finally reach the house. And as soon as they get to the house, who do they see? Nay, eating grass with his buddies. Totally fine. Now, they're obviously stunned and relieved, but they're horrified because Nay's collar is on him, completely intact
Nothing is wrong with it. So immediately they call Megan's grandmother. Megan's grandmother picks up and she says, listen, I'll be back in the morning. So she comes back in the morning and she's like, what you guys did was super dangerous. She thought it was what you guys think it probably is. That was trying to lure them into the woods. I just can't say it. So that was her question. She wants to know what you guys think it was. Do you guys think that it was that, or do you think that it was something else? My first thought when I was reading the story was like, this is a human. And during that time period, I wonder where that horse was, because I feel like that horse is really lucky to be here today. But what do you guys think it was? And like the phone call, I've never heard of that happening, of like someone getting a phone call from something like that ever. This is the first story that I've ever heard where like a phone call was involved when it had to do with something like what we're talking about. So yeah, if you guys think it was that, or do you guys think it was something else? Drop all your opinions, suggestions, and comments in the comment section. Just make sure to please be respectful as always. Thank you. Before we do the shout outs, so I am trying to organize a GoFundMe for children that aren't going to get any presents for Christmas. I can't imagine having a child or being a child in this economy and just not getting Christmas presents. And I wanted to do that. Everything that I made for the Creator Rewards program would go to the GoFundMe, but I unfortunately get paid every 15th for the month before. So I won't get December's until January 15th. So I don't know how I'm going to do it. I am praying that God will help me figure it out. So if anyone, the reason I'm telling you this is because if anyone can think of something that I could do, that I could personally help with, and help you guys help me with the GoFundMe, or like with some type of fundraiser or charity or something I could do, drop in the comments. That would be really helpful. Thank you so much. And now we do my favorite part, which is the shout outs. K Waxon. Thank you so much for the comment that you left underneath when the story where I said Happy Thanksgiving. That meant so much to me. That was such a nice comment and so genuine. And I'm so glad that I can bring you some type of comfort and happiness when you watch my stories, because that is the whole reason that I do it. So to hear that just brings me so much joy. You have no idea. So thank you so much, girl. I love you. And thank you for being a spooky baby. _Angie.G_O. Thank you so much. I hope I got that right, by the way. That was a mouthful. For the comment that you left, you said that you watch my videos all the time while you get ready. I love that so much. Thank you. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you for being a part of my community and for being a spooky baby. Thank you for leaving nice comments and being a girl's girl. Like, it means so much to me. I appreciate you and I love you. And my name is Kaisa, and I tell your paranormal experiences on here every single night, or your paranormal recommendations of the paranormal world. If you're into that, hit that follow button. And I just need you to do 3 things for me. And what are those? Keep sending me your scary stories. Have a safe night. And what's the third one? Say it with me. Have a spooky night. Love you so much, my spooky babies. I'll see you in the next one. Spooky kisses and haunted hugs.
Okay, creepy story time. This is a story about a guy named Danny who decides to rent a cabin in the Appalachian Mountains. And if you know anything about the Appalachian Mountains, you know where this is going. So Danny finds a cabin online. It's cheap, but it's described as remote and super peaceful, and that's exactly what he wanted. So obviously he makes his trip to the mountains, and if you've been to the mountains, you know that the roads they can be really scary. They're super narrow. You're going up, 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 like for miles and miles. You can't see around a lot of the turns because, you know, the trees and just the edge of the mountain and it being so winding. It was a creepy ride, he said, but when he got there, the cabin was what was described. It was a nice little cabin right on the edge of the ridge. and it looked kind of weathered, but still it was like nice and cozy. It had like a single bedroom, a wood burning stove, and the porch looked right over the valley. So it was everything he wanted, and he was happy with it. Now the first night was super peaceful. He said he even slept with the window open because the mountain breeze just felt really nice. You could hear the crickets and stuff in the woods. It was super peaceful. But the second night is where things started to get really weird. So first he heard slow but deliberate footsteps on the porch, which is like right outside the window, and that startled him. And then he hears tapping on the window, and that really startled him. So he grabs his phone and he checks the time, and it's exactly 3:12 a.m. So he's really creeped out, but obviously he's gonna go see what the tapping is, because don't they always? So there's like a little part in the curtain where he can like kind of peek through a little bit. So he peeks out there and he sees a tall, like abnormally thin figure. And so he opens the curtains completely. Why, I don't know. But he opens the curtains and he sees it's a woman, but like she looks not right. She's super thin, pale, barefoot. She's wearing like a nightgown, and she has long dark hair that covers part of her face, kind of like my creepy doll back there. And he asked her like, do you need help? He said she didn't say anything. She just stood there, and like her head was like tilted slightly. Oh, he also did say that her eyes were super dark and empty, so that was creepy. But then he was like, are you lost? Like he's trying to get her to answer, and she's not saying anything. And then all of a sudden she just kind of like smiles just a little bit, and she's like, let me in. This really freaked him out, and then her smile got way wider, like abnormally wide, and he went to grab a flashlight. So he rushes to grab a flashlight, and when he turns to shine it towards her, she's gone. So the next morning he just gets up and he hikes down the mountain like a mile, and there's like this little mountain general store, and the clerk in there looks at him and he's like, you look like shit. And he's like, yeah, I didn't sleep very well last night. There was a weird woman that showed up to my cabin, and she was like, she was super pale with dark hair, and you know, he described her or whatever. And the clerk was like, where are you staying? And he was like, the cabin is called Black Hollow Cabin, because you know they name all their cabins and stuff. And he was like, that's where you're staying? And Danny was like, yeah, why? And he was like, do you know who that is? Is someone like missing or something? And the clerk was like, people have been seeing that woman for about 50 years, and the people that see her tend to go missing. So Danny was like, what am I supposed to do? He said, do not talk to her, and absolutely do not let her in. So that night, Danny is freaked out, and so he has all the lights on, and he's got all the windows and doors completely locked. And he just sits on the couch all night with his like hunting utensil in his lap. Sorry, I don't know what I can say on here. And 3:12 a.m. here come the footsteps on the porch, and then here come the taps. But this time, she says his name. He hears Danny. So Danny just ignores her like he's told. And she says, Danny, let me in. And he just keeps ignoring her literally all night long. And then he hears the footsteps leave the porch. So the next morning he packs his stuff and he leaves, but he stops by that store, and all the clerk says to him is, she'll find someone else.
I grew up in the Appalachian Mountains, and some of the scariest things that happened to me were at my grandmother's house. I call her my Nana. My Nana got sick right after I graduated high school, so I moved in with her to take care of her. She lived on a mountain in a 2-story house. This one night in particular, and listen, I was always afraid of this house since I was a kid because the basement was really dark, and I just got this eerie feeling. And there was a storage room in the basement that was like pitch black and had these giant crickets in it, and it was part of the house. It wasn't like the crawl space. It was a storage room that was like a cellar in this house, and it was scary. So this one night in particular, I'm in the living room. It's late at night. She's asleep. It's like 11 o'clock or something, and the power goes out. Of course, the power goes out. It went out all the time on this mountain. So in the living room is on the second floor of the house. Down at the bottom, there's a pool, and there's a fence around the pool, but the fence has a gate that doesn't lock. And it backs up to woods, a lot of really thick woods. And there's nobody else back there. So this one night, it sounded like, you know, those really long, creepy fingernails they have in horror movies with the creatures? That's exactly what it sounded like. It sounded like something with long nails like that just took them along the sliding glass door and went, and I'm getting chills thinking about this because it was so scary and I think about it all the time. I was frozen in place, and literally I had candles lighting everything up. I'll post a picture in the comments of how the living room looked this night, because it was that night that I took the picture of the candles lighting the house that the sliding glass door got scratched. And what makes this even crazier is the next day, I didn't open them curtains and look. You know, in the Appalachian Mountains, you do not open the curtains at night. Sliding glass doors had curtains over them. I didn't open them until the next day. I looked at them the next day, and the sliding glass door had shattered. The outside panel had shattered into a million pieces. It was tempered, so it was still there, but I think I have a picture of where the panel shattered too. So I don't know what it was. I never heard this scratching sound again, but it was on the second floor, so whatever it was would have had to come up the stairs and go to this sliding glass door and do this. So what do y'all think it was?
We all know that the Appalachian Mountains has some of the scariest encounter stories on Earth, and here are two more stories that'll make you never want to visit here. Back in 2002, three friends are hiking along the northern end of the Appalachian Trail when they suddenly get stuck in a terrible snowstorm around the Mahoosic Notch, which is considered to be one of the hardest parts of the trail to navigate. They decided to set up camp not far from a river, but things went wrong fast. It was 15 below. Their water filters decided to clog because they were frozen. All the water in their canteens frozen, and they could not get a fire started. They decided to go ahead and turn in early. They each got in their own tent, and one of them, the person who was telling this encounter, thought that they were literally going to freeze to death because it was 15 below and their sleeping bag was only rated for 0, and so they were actually scared to fall asleep. Later that night, after he was sure everyone had fallen asleep, he started to hear some peculiar noises. So first he was hearing this like heavy breathing sound, and it sounded like someone was walking through the camp. He specifically could hear the snow crushing underfoot in between the heavy breathing. At first he rationalized it like maybe someone just got up to take a leak, you know, but then he started thinking to himself, yeah, but you didn't hear the zipper of their tent open before you started hearing them wandering around. Then he heard the footsteps approach his tent. It got so close, it was like he could feel it, like almost like breathing on the back of his neck through like that thin sheet of canvas where the tent is. Like, imagine not knowing what's out there, and all that separates you between whatever it is out there is just that really thin sheet of fabric. He was cocooned up in his sleeping bag, didn't want to make a sound. He wanted to just pretend like he wasn't there, and he got the sense that it was checking out the rope system of their tents. He says that normally he's a smartass and would have like made some kind of comment like, hey, what are you doing in the middle of the night when it's freezing? Like, go back to sleep. But he had this like strange sense that he just really needed to stay quiet and not make a single peep. He was even scared to breathe. He didn't think he would have ever fall asleep, but he must have at some point dozed off because suddenly it was just morning. One of the three friends asked him once they all woke up that morning, like, hey, what were you doing wandering around the camp in the middle of the night? And he was like, that wasn't me. And then the third member of their group said, it wasn't me either. Keep in mind that the weather was absolutely horrible. They were like the only ones out there that would have been, as he calls it, fools enough to go out there in the middle of the night. So what were they hearing? And they could see footprints all around their camp from what seems to be like a barefoot human. They knew what bear tracks looked like. These were not bear tracks. They were definitely human footprints without shoes on. They followed the footprints, and it seemed like it started at the river and made their way into the camp and was wandering around the camp like they were looking for something, and then it just went off, the trail went off into the woods into nothingness. When they were comparing their stories, they all agreed on one thing. They all felt this like heavy sense of dread and the desperate need to stay completely silent. The next night they camped super early and they made a huge bonfire. That was in 2002. Here's another story from 20 years later in 2022. This next person said that they have lived in the Appalachian Mountains their entire lives. Their family originally settled in West Virginia from Ireland, but when this happened to them, they were specifically in the North Carolina portion of the Appalachian Mountains. The strangeness occurred when their golden retriever Ozzy started growling really intensely. Now, Ozzy was a very calm dog. He never ever growled,
but this dog sounded like he was about to fight for his life. Around 11 p.m., he noticed his workshop door was open, so he decided he'd go outside and close it. The whole time he's walking out there, Ozzy is like just glued to his side, growling super intensely, just completely on edge. He was trying to stay right in between his legs, and his hair was sticking on end, and obviously something was really bad wrong, right? The second that he closed the door to his workshop, it seemed like all hell broke loose. He said it sounded like 50 full-grown men had just started tearing through the forest, just the branches were breaking, the trees were shaking, it just sounded like chaos. He says he's never been that terrified before in his life. He ran back to his house, grabbed his pistol and his mag light, and decided he was going to figure out what was going on out there. When he got back outside with his dog, he said he was surrounded by what sounded like people mumbling, and it was just everywhere. He's shining his flashlight all around, but he can't see a single thing, but he's just hearing this like super loud mumbling noise from like, it seems like 50 people. It wasn't animal sounds. He said it was almost like he could almost make out words, but not quite. He said almost immediately upon stepping outside, he felt sick, like he was having an extreme panic attack and also had the flu at the same time. He ran back inside the house, shut the door, and decided he was just gonna sit in bed and just like hope it all goes away. He said he could hear what sounded like people walking around outside all night. The windows were creaking, he could hear shoes on gravel, and the mumbling just never stopped. What was even freakier is every single time he got out of bed to try to go look around, the second his feet would hit the floor, all of it would just stop suddenly. And by silent, he means dead silent. I mean, you couldn't even hear any birds, crickets, frogs, trees, nothing. He was terrified and did not sleep a wink. He said the air felt super heavy and just evil, and it was just the worst feeling he'd ever had. A lot of people in the comments were also saying this sounded like Sasquatch behavior. For what it's worth. In some of the replies, because this was a Reddit post, he said that his wife does sage and smudge their house, and it felt like that they couldn't, whatever it was, couldn't get inside the house, but it was like as if they were trying. Let me know what you guys, if you have any ideas of what you think either one of these could have been. It all sounds very much like typical Appalachian behavior. And guess where I live? In the middle, smack in the middle of the Appalachian woods of North Carolina, so love it. If you like spooky stories like this one, be sure to hit that plus and hit all that interaction. It really helps me a lot. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have your own stories or things that's happened to other people you know, please share them. I'd love to make a video about it, and good luck going to sleep.
All right, babes, I got you. This story is so terrifying. So if you're watching this at night, I would recommend just saving it and watching it at a later time. Here's the thing. You don't have to believe these stories. Believe what you want. But the truth is, people go missing in Appalachia all the time, unexplained. They are unable to find their bodies. And I'm getting hundreds of DMs of stories that have happened to people that are unexplained. So just listen. This story happened to a close friend of mine, but he wants to remain anonymous. So to protect his identity, we will call him John. So growing up, John and his cousins would always spend their summers at his grandma's family farmhouse. This was located in western North Carolina near like Black Mountain, but it was very remote back in what they would call the holler. It was a quaint little farmhouse, 2 bedrooms. There was a creek that ran out the front of the farmhouse, and the kids would often go fishing. Now, this was a smaller creek, so he said they would just fish for small, like rainbow trout or brown trout. He said they would get out there and like wade in the creek, but it never came up higher than usually like their thigh level. They fished in front of the house for a little bit that evening, but didn't catch anything, and they decided to kind of go up the creek a little ways. His one cousin found a little spot he wanted to fish at, but John kept going up the creek a ways. So John's grandma had this old black lab that would follow them around when they were outside fishing. The dog followed John up the creek with him, and then John found a place that looked like it was good to fish. He was fishing for about 5 minutes or so when he said the dog got up and started growling at the water. He said this was very odd behavior for the dog because the dog wasn't like the type to be this way. It was a very docile dog, but the dog just kept staring into like the center of the creek and growling. And then John hooks a fish, and he says this fish feels massive. Does not feel like a little brown trout that he's normally used to catching. But as he's reeling this fish in, it gets like stuck, and he thinks that at this point it's gotten tangled or caught under some branches or something. So he kind of starts to wade out into the deeper part of the water to go like unhook the fish. He says as he's wading out there, the dog is just absolutely going ballistic, barking, 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 and growling. But once he gets to where he feels like his line is tangled up, he feels 2 hands grab his ankles. And then whatever it is that grabbed him pulled him under. He said he felt like the life was being absolutely sucked out of him. Whatever had a hold of his ankles refused to let go. He said at times he was able to break the surface and breathe and scream for help, but then he would feel it jerk him back under again. He can still hear the dog barking, he's screaming, he's kicking, he's splashing. And then thankfully, his cousin, because of all the commotion, ran over and pulled him up out of this area of the creek. As soon as his cousin pulls him free, John just takes off running for the creek bank. And his cousin is like, dude, what is going on? What is happening? And John's like, you gotta get out of the water. You gotta get out of the water. His cousin runs over to him and John's like, dude, something was pulling me under. Something was pulling me under. They're standing on the side of the creek bank now, looking into the water, and they don't see anything. But John looks down at his ankles and pulls up his pant leg, and he's got bruising around both ankles. The dog is whimpering, and both of the kids are very freaked out, and they're like, we've got to go tell Grandma. They go tell their grandmother what happened, and John said that his grandmother's face just turned like pale, and you could tell she was absolutely horrified. But in an effort to like calm them down, she was like, oh, it's just you boys out there wading around, causing bruises on your ankles. Nothing got you. John said they never went back to fish in the creek again, and to this day, he still has no idea what grabbed him. And the dog will not go down to the waterbed either. What do you think this could have been? And does anyone else have any experiences like this? If you have, leave it in the comments. And if you want more spooky Appalachia stories, then just follow along.
No, it's not creepy at all that my little boy just went out the back door outside while I'm sitting here in my room. And he's out there in less than 1 minute and comes running back in, giggling, saying, Mommy, what do you want? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, you were hollering for me. You were saying my name and you were saying something else. What were you talking about? What do you want? And I'm like, I was sitting right here in my room, buddy. I don't feel too good. Ew, that's so creepy.
Okay, I'm gonna try this again. So, I ran into this video on here, and it's talking about this couple who is renovating a house in the Appalachian Mountains. Or do you say it Appalachian Mountains? I say Appalachian Mountains. And you kind of gotta throw some twang in there, don't you? Right? I mean, okay, anyways, I'm sorry. And I was just like, oh my God, because I'm a sucker for old houses. I love old houses. I would love to do that, but fuck that area, dude. So I decided I wanted to just do a little story time and tell you guys about my experience in the Appalachian Mountains. So anyways, we're going there not by choice for me, because I didn't even realize we were going there. I was with my boyfriend. We were on a trip. We're going to visit his friend. And then he's like, yeah, we were in North Carolina. He's like, we're going to go over the border here into Virginia. And then I see this sign that says like, oh yeah, you're now entering the Appalachian Mountains. And I was like, bro, what the fuck? No. And I was like, you realize, dude, that like I've had like this obsession with this place. It's like not good. Like an obsession of like, how the fuck I'm never going to visit this place. Like, listen to so many podcasts, blurry creatures, TikToks, just everything. Like, everything that there is scary to know about this area, like, I have fully invested my time into researching it, reading about it, listening to podcasts, videos, so you get the drill. And I'm like, maybe it's just not that scary, you know? Like, it's not that serious. I'm trying to talk myself out of, like, being scared, obviously. So we get there, and his friend has this big, beautiful brick house on this hill, and it is just absolutely gorgeous. That's one thing I can say about the East Coast, or at least North Carolina and Virginia, where I was. The homes are gorgeous. Like, they actually have character to them. So at first I was like feeling semi-okay. I definitely do think that I'm someone who is really sensitive to the spirit realm. So I'm like, it's not that bad right here. Like, I think that everything is going to be fine. And then we get into this guy's house, and then I'm starting to like, I can feel the panic like rising up in my chest. Like, I can feel something is off. And mind you, at this moment, the sun is starting to set outside. Anyways, we all hang out. I had a lot of anxiety like the whole evening, but I'm just trying to push through so that my boyfriend can see his best friend. Okay, fast forward in the evening, we're getting ready to go to bed. His best friend's like, you guys can sleep in this room. And it turns out that it's his daughter's bedroom. She's like probably 5 years old. And I'm in the room and I'm like unpacking some of my stuff, just like going through my suitcase, whatever. And this little girl comes up to me and she's like dead serious, dude. This is what killed me about this area. So she's like, you do not want to look out the windows at nighttime here. And I'm like, oh, really? Why is that? And then she's like, again, so serious. She's like, there's a man that stands outside my window and sometimes he'll scratch on the window too. And I do my best to not show her like how freaked out I am. And then she's like, and sometimes I see red eyes too if I look out the window out there. And she's like, and there's just always a lot of scary noises outside. And I was just like, oh, well, thank you for letting me know that. That was so kind of you. And I was like, maybe you should go see your mom real quick or whatever. So I shut the door and I'm like, oh my God, I'm like freaking the fuck out, dude. Like just freaking out. Okay, so I'm like freaking out and I'm trying to like close all the blinds in the room and the curtain. And it doesn't help that there's like a couple pieces on the blinds that are broken. And I'm like, great, this motherfucker's going to be able to look through the window, like regardless. So I was just like, I'm going to do what I always do. Whenever I stay somewhere that I think is haunted, I fucking drug myself, dude. Like, I probably will take so much melatonin that I go into a coma. Like, so that's what I did. I took like probably 20 milligrams of melatonin and made it so that I would pass out completely. Like, I'm not waking up to crap. And this guy can, if he's real or not, I mean, I believe little kids when they say this stuff because, like, she's 5 and kids are more open and susceptible to the spirit realm as well. So, like, why? I mean, maybe she was funny and wanted to freak me out. I don't know, but I don't think so, dude. So, anyways, I take this melatonin. It does take me like forever to fall asleep, but I still fell asleep and I didn't hear shit all night because I don't even think I woke up once to go pee. But we got the fuck out of there in the morning, like so quick. And yeah, so that was my experience that was my experience in the Appalachian Mountains. And it wasn't that big, it wasn't that significant, but I'm not ever testing it again. Ever.
If you like scary stories from the Appalachian Mountains, I'm your guy. I grew up there and I experienced a lot of terrifying things. I've told these stories before, but I'm telling them again because I'm putting them in a playlist. That way you guys can find them more easily. So most of the things I experienced happened at my grandmother's house. Now I realize the house was very haunted at minimum. My bedroom was downstairs. Her bedroom was upstairs. She was bedridden. She could not get up out of bed. At nighttime is when most things happen in Appalachia, and nighttime is when most things happened in her house. When I first moved in with her, I didn't realize that all this stuff was going on. I quickly learned that I needed to keep a lamp on in my room, so my lamp was on. I was in the basement by myself. This one night in particular, I always have trouble sleeping, and this night was no different. I had trouble sleeping. It was really late. I was laying in bed, could not fall asleep. I look over at my alarm clock that's on my nightstand. Most people have an alarm clock on their nightstand. I don't keep one there anymore because this alarm clock said 3 a.m. 3 a.m. is not a good time. It's known as the witching hour. When 3 a.m. hits, it's not a good time. And of course, that's when I look at the clock. So I roll back over, close my eyes, and try to go back to sleep. As soon as I close my eyes, something hits the end of my bed right beside my feet really hard, like with a closed fist or with a big open palm. It goes bam, 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 3 times. Right beside my feet at 3 a.m. in the Appalachian Mountains. I shot straight up out of that bed so fast, I didn't see anything. There was nothing there. I didn't have any shadows in the room because I had a lamp going. I always sleep with a lamp, even though I was a 30-year-old man. I heard a lot of things. That was probably the closest to my body that something happened. It was maybe 2 inches away. It was right beside, and they hit that bed hard. Whatever it was, shot me up. I probably didn't sleep the rest of the night, and I still think about it every time I go to bed because my feet will never hang off of a mattress because there's no telling what's under it, especially in the Appalachian Mountains. If you want more stories like this, follow me. I have plenty.